Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with Riv, and this is now episode 86. In this episode, we will give out our NBA awards and preview every first round matchup in the playoffs. We will also talk about Kwame Brown's recent rants and J. Cole making his professional basketball debut. This is now episode 86 and we have a guest in the building.
Yes, sir.
Andrew Velez. He's been on the show, I think, at least 4 times already, maybe 3. I'm not sure.
History.
One of those.
History.
Yeah, 3 times already.
I appreciate you guys having me. I really do.
So this is going to be a great episode. We saw the play-in games yesterday. The Lakers beat the Warriors. The Grizzlies beat the Spurs. So that means the Warriors and the Grizzlies will fight for that 8th seed to face the Jazz, and the Lakers will face the Suns. The Celtics beat the Wizards. They'll face the Nets. And now tonight, the Wizards are going to face the Pacers, and whoever wins that will face Philly in the first round. So honestly, just to start off the show, what were your thoughts about the play-in tournament, the play-in games? Did you like it? Did you not?
Yeah, I liked it. Yesterday, at first, because the Spurs was getting blown out, I thought, damn, I didn't expect this team to be this bad, but then they got back in the game. DeJounte Murray and the boys, they got back in it, and the Grizzlies fought hard, and they won it. I thought that game was good. And then, Lakers, Warriors, LeBron, Steph Curry, they made that game what it was. Anthony Davis and Draymond Green, they made it what it was. I think that was a very, very playoff atmosphere game. It was something I didn't think would happen with the play-in. I was pretty behind on it, but now I think it's like a good idea for the most part because of the intensity that it brings to the game. So I give it about a B+ yesterday. I like the games I've seen so far. Hopefully today can be spectacular because, Charlotte kind of stunk it up when they played the Pacers the first time. And Washington and Boston, it was a good game, but it wasn't like what it was yesterday. I think the West definitely showed out.
I was going to say, night one, it really wasn't that good of basketball. The Celtics smashed the Wizards. Charlotte got smashed up by the Pacers. But yesterday was really good basketball. At first, you were right. The Spurs were getting blown out, but then they got it together. Rudy Gay had a really good game. Towards the end, he made some clutch baskets, but ultimately, Moran was at a different level last night. But then the Lakers and the Warriors, that game was too good too close for comfort. We ended up pulling it out. LeBron had an amazing shot. AD ended up turning it on in the second half. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I feel like it is good for the future. I feel like I heard someone say that it should only be for the 8th seed, and I think that's really smart. The 7th seed, you're pretty firm. You're locked in the playoffs. The 8th seed, something I can see them competing for in the future.
I mean, I love the play-in tournament. I love the idea because I think, in other years, nobody would be interested in watching basketball at this time of the year until the playoffs started. And now we're getting competitive basketball near the end of the season, heading right into the playoffs. The Warriors and Lakers, some people called it the game of the year.
It was amazing.
I think it was an amazing game. I'm not sure about game of the year, but it was an amazing game. Mm-hmm. You're right, though. Eastern Conference games were really bad, mostly because Westbrook is a complete choke when something is on the line.
Sheesh.
I can't.
That's his guy.
I can't trash talk him.
I mean, I'm just gonna be honest.
Not my guy.
I'm watching the game, and I don't know what it is. It's like Westbrook in games that are meaningful in these past couple of years just doesn't perform. I mean, heading into this game versus Boston, Westbrook was on a tear, like averaging 27, having like 13 rebounds and 13 assists, and he
averaged 18 in May, something crazy like that.
Exactly.
I knew it didn't mean anything when it was going to be down to the line, though.
The thing is, they made good adjustments. Brad Stevens put Tatum on Russ the entire game, had Kemba playing defense on Hachimura. That's just good adjustments on Brad Stevens' part.
I guess so, but if you're a star,
no,
you're
I'm with
that
you.
good.
He hit a jump shot off the backboard.
Yeah, no, it wasn't it.
Yeah,
it had nothing to do with Tatum.
He played like trash.
And Tatum, obviously, he's a great defender, and his length bothered Westbrook, but Westbrook also really missed point-blank layups that other guards would definitely make. Like, I don't know what it is in games that matter in playoff situations. He doesn't show up, and Rasheed Wallace called him the best player in the NBA right now.
He did?
Yeah, he called him the best player in the NBA right now.
Is he even top 3 point guard?
That was ridiculous. I don't know.
Doesn't watch the NBA.
Yeah, for real. Not this season, at least.
I don't even know if I can pick Washington to win. You saw Bradley Beal. He still looks like he's hurting. He's limping a little bit. They need him at full strength. Indiana, I don't know what happened, but T.J. McConnell, Doug McDermott, they just went on a tear. They're not even fully healthy either. So I don't have a true winner for tonight. I
Mhm.
don't know who's gonna win, but I think hopefully we can get a good game. You know, judging from last night, I really hope the East comes back and has a really great game. But yeah, like you said, Westbrook just didn't look like himself as of late. You know, the Boston's defense hasn't been great. They've been pretty inconsistent. You know, Tatum, he carried them for most of the game. Boston's an inconsistent team. That was a game that Washington, they've been hot. They needed to pull that one out because Boston has been up and down. That's one you got to get the win. And I think now you're fighting for a spot in that 8th seed. Limping, you needed time for Bradley Beal to get healthy, and that could have been that because you would have won that game, would have had this much time. So now you got to win this one. So
Not only that, but Tatum locked down Westbrook and then gave him 50.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Shot the
just
50 ball
ridiculous.
on him.
Yeah, I didn't see Washington having anybody to really.
And then Celtics, they don't have Jaylen Brown either. So, like, the Wizards should have took full advantage of that.
Yeah, they should have. Personally, I think that Indiana is going to beat them.
I don't know who to pick.
If LeVert plays, I'm all in. Pacers could beat them. But he's out with COVID right now, right?
That's true. No, I think not
It's
COVID,
health
but health and safety protocols. But Westbrook is hurt. Beal is hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Indiana, they might, get that 8th
Indiana's a
seed.
solid team.
Yeah, they are
Sabonis
solid.
is one of the more underrated players in the league.
Miles Turner's not playing
Brogdon's been playing very well. That's true.
Is
Turner
Brogdon
has been
playing?
out.
either. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He is playing.
I could look it up for you.
He is playing. But yeah, and then what about Golden State versus Memphis? Who do you have winning that game?
I mean, the last time they played, it was just like it was last night. You know, it was an intense game, fighting for that 8th seed. You know, you saw Dylan Brooks. As soon as he went out, the momentum shifted, and the Warriors took the lead back. I thought Dylan Brooks played pretty impressive defense on Steph as I've seen anybody play on him. I thought he made it comfortable. He was following him everywhere.
He's an elite defender.
Yeah, he was really showing out. He even locked up DeMar DeRozan last night. So he was
in
really
the first half.
he was really
struggled.
he's been showing out. So I expect him nonetheless to take the assignment of Steph Curry. But I don't know. It's hard. You know, Memphis against, I think JV has to have a big game.
I was going to say, is Valanciunas playing?
If he does, he has to have a big game. Moran, he has to step up. This is that moment where you have to. This is that game that's going to pull him into that conversation. Like, all right, you've taken the next step. Playing game last year, he didn't take the step when they played Portland. He's in the same situation he in this year. This has to be where he takes that next step. This is a young team. Him versus Steph Curry on the grand stage. He got to do it. But I think I'm gonna just go with the Warriors. I think I can't bet on Steph right now.
Yeah, I'm a ride with the Warriors. Steph's been at a different level. He almost took out my Lakers yesterday, and I thought we had no chance of losing last night. But the way that they're all playing together, that team chemistry that they have going on right now, just playing through Steph Curry. Steph Curry setting up a lot of the offense. You see Jordan Poole getting his shots up. I'm blanking on this dude's number is 95. I don't want to disrespect him.
Toscano Anderson.
Yes, dude. He's got a nice shot on him, and he plays really good defense. So, I mean, the core that they have going is not there's definitely better young cores in the league, but you get Clay on a team like this, man, they really could make a run. It's a shame that he's been out, but with that being said, I like them against the Grizzlies, even though the Grizzlies really are a really good overall squad. I just think that the Warriors are too hot right now, and I think that that'll give them the edge.
Personally, for me, I know the Warriors are the favorites, but I just have a feeling that the Grizzlies are going to play spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
I just do. I mean, I think Dylan Brooks not playing really affected them in that game. I think if he played the entire game, Memphis probably wins. And I think that Memphis is ready to take that next step now. I mean, if they lose this game, this would be 2 years in a row that they were in the playoffs and now they got knocked out because of the play-in. And I just feel like they're ready to take that next step. But I'm kind of torn because the Warriors, if it's a close game, you trust them to come out on top. Even yesterday, the Grizzlies showed how inexperienced and young they were. They almost blew the game to the Spurs late in the game. You know, John Moran was missing shots. The entire team was missing shots. If you do that against Golden State with a guy like Curry, I don't think you can come away on top in that type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's going to be tough, but I could really see it happening. But I was wondering, where is Brandon Clark? Did he not play?
He hasn't been. He's healthy. He plays a little bit. He just doesn't. Coach just doesn't throw him out there. I think with Jackson coming back, running that two big lineup with Jackson out there and then JV down low, I think Brandon Clark hasn't seen much minutes. You know, even when he played the Warriors, he played about 13 minutes.
Yeah, he played 14, had 2 points, 1 for 4.
Yeah, he's not. I don't know. I don't know what's been going on.
Valanciunas did play yesterday. He ate.
He was killing the Spurs.
That's weird because Brandon Clark, I think he's a good player, but his minutes they're actually up this year, but he's averaging 10.3 points per game, shooting 26% from three.
Yeah, the Grizzlies aren't a good 3-point shooting team.
Maybe it just wasn't a good matchup for him yesterday.
Yeah, he's 24 years old.
No, he's got promise.
So he's in his second year in the league.
He was a 4-year player at college.
It's like Jayshawn Tate is a rookie. He's gonna be 25.
Because
he's 25 now.
He
was playing with D-Lo way back. He was like a senior or junior when D-Lo was a freshman.
But he played well this year.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I don't know what's up with Brandon Clark.
Yeah,
I know for a fact the refs are gonna be in there, and they nobody wants to see the Grizzlies. I want to see the Grizzlies.
I don't
in the playoffs.
think anyone wants to see the Warriors right now.
No, I mean like from a fan perspective, I think everybody wants to see the Warriors in the playoffs.
Because of Steph, no doubt.
I like John Morant, so I like either way. You know, I can go either way. But I think fans want to see the Warriors, and this is a game where Steph just has to win, just like how Westbrook has to win. I feel like this is a game that people are going to look back, and if he doesn't win this game, it's going to be that little stain on his legacy. You know, he has to get this win. You had a great season. You have to come out and you have to win that and get into the playoffs. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no excuse for this game.
Mm-hmm.
Draymond has to step up. 2 points, 4 points, however much. It felt like to me he didn't score. He played great. For all his defensive, he's a great elite all-time defender, but you have to put points on the board.
He did handle Anthony Davis pretty well that first half.
But I knew he was going to do that because he's one of the best matchups on AD, and they play each other every time.
I was going to say, I think there's a stat they've played defense against each other the most.
But I just know, like, offensively, he has to put up some points. Wiggins, he played well. You know, playing against LeBron, he played pretty good defense against LeBron yesterday. And on offense, he showed up.
And LeBron got angry.
Yeah, but he showed up when he needed to. So I think he's going to have a good game tomorrow night, pardon me. And then Jordan Poole, he got to step up. Kent Bazemore, he's got to step up. It just has to be a collective effort, not just Steph.
You just really missed the number 2 there. Like if Clay was on this squad, this team, they obviously wouldn't be fighting for an A seed.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, too, I think that what kept the Warriors in that game was that everybody was hitting their shots. Toscano Anderson, Jordan Poole, Wiggins.
They're going to get open.
Everybody was hitting their shots. Yeah. So that's really going to be the case in the playoffs with the Warriors. You know, if those guys around Steph can hit their shots, they'll be fine. I said this earlier. I never tweeted this out or said it on the podcast. I said it in my head, though, that this year's a weird year when we talk about seeding, especially not so much in the East because the Nets are the second seed and we know they're for real. They're legit. But in terms of the West, the Jazz, the Suns, the top 2 seeds, I think, are not favorites to come out of the West. They're probably
like the fourth.
They're labeled as pretenders. You have the Lakers, who are the 7th seed, but they're really the first seed. Like they're the best team in the West. They're going to beat Phoenix in the first round. Nice, bye-bye, nice season. But you're leaving. And then we talk about the Warriors, where they're not really an 8th seeded team. Like they're going, if they win, they will face Utah. The Warriors are a 4/5 seeded team. They're not an 8th seeded team. Okay. So the Jazz aren't going to be facing a team that is just barely walking into the playoffs because with Steph, their winning percentage, like if he played the entire season, their winning percentage is up there with
I think ahead of Portland and Dallas.
Ahead of Dallas, Portland, they would be the 5th seed if
they've had their fair share of injuries too. But like I get what the point you're making.
Even that, but it's just really just a Steph thing. Like I think they're 1-7
when
Steph doesn't play.
It is a Steph thing, but I'm just saying I think this year's seeding in the West, it's unlike anything we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at the past 6 years, you look at the 1st and 2nd seed in the West. It's been Golden State, Houston, sometimes Golden State, Houston. This past year, the Lakers. Mm-hmm. They've all either won the championship or made the WCF. This year, I think it's very possible that the first 2 seeds in the West are knocked out
first round
before the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
I think the Suns definitively will get knocked out. No doubt about it.
Utah get knocked in the second round.
But I also think we'll get into it later on in the previews. But I also think Utah, they have a chance to get upset.
First round.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
They do. This Warriors team can upset them.
Yeah.
Because of the matchup.
I'm with you.
Draymond and Rudy Gobert. Them playing small can really minimize his impact a lot.
Yep.
And this is, obviously they would rather face the Warriors than the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not going to be an easy series either.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of, and we're going to get into that later. That mismatch Draymond at the 5 is going to cause for Rudy Gobert. But I agree. I think like if Steph, he's going to get double teamed, he's going to get tripled, he's going to see all that. If the Warriors are going to get their open shots, it's just about who's going to be out there and if they can hit their shots. You know, if JTA can hit his shots like he did last night, Like, let's be realistic. Last night in the game, Jordan Poole had an open look in the corner to tie the game.
Yeah.
It was there. They didn't. I can't even say they definitively lost that game. I just think LeBron just hit the shot.
Lakers took it.
Yeah,
Yep.
they had their opportunities down the stretch. So I believe that they're gonna get their shots. They just have to hit their shots. And like Joel said, I think the Warriors are right in that conversation with Portland and Dallas. They had a lot of injuries, but I think they're in that even with Steph, without Clay, they're in this group right here is in that Portland Dallas conversation. Like, they're right there with them. So bringing in the number 2 is going to be great for them to get them back into that WCF conversation. Yep. But we're gonna see tomorrow night how that's gonna go. I really hope they don't lose. I really do.
Moving on to the NBA awards. MVP, Most Improved Player, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year. So I have my NBA awards. I'll go first, and I'll just say off the bat, MVP is Julius Randle. Most Improved Player is Julius Randle as well. Rookie of the Year is Emmanuel Quickley. Sixth Man of the Year is Derrick Rose. Defensive Player of the Year is Nerlens Noel.
Just name the Knicks.
Coach of the Year is Tom Thibodeau. That's at least what it should be, but it will be this, right?
Okay.
Let's just start with MVP first. I think, MVP is Nikola Jokic.
I think we can all go ahead and watch that one.
For me, I don't know why Chris Paul has gotten this push to be MVP.
I saw you saying that. That's a little disrespectful.
I don't think it's disrespectful. I think it's not a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Okay.
It's about what you've done this season, and there are 5 players who have had better years than Chris Paul. Chris Paul is averaging 16 and 9. Those are Kyle Lowry numbers.
Yep.
2 years ago, no, it was last year. Kyle Lowry, when Kawhi left, averaged 19 points per game and 7 assists. The Raptors were the 2nd seed. Nobody was talking about Kyle Lowry being the MVP.
It's disrespect.
And nobody. Utah Jazz, they've been the 1st seed the entire year. Nobody even mentions Mitchell or Gobert in the MVP conversation. But all of a sudden, Chris Paul is the only engine to this team. Like, a lot of good guys. We're not going to disregard Monty Williams, Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker, Ayton, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder's impact. I think just trying to put Chris Paul on a pedestal is really minimizing the impact of these other guys, because these guys have developed, especially Mikal Bridges. He made a really big jump this past year.
Only thing I'll say to that is Utah's been in the playoff mix before this season.
Same with Toronto.
Suns really, that's true. They won a championship
but without Kawhi.
And I'm with you there. Listen, that Kyle Lowry take was pretty strong. But Utah Jazz have been in the playoff mix the last few years at least. Suns haven't sniffed the playoffs since Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire left. Chris Paul last year they did go 8-0 in the bubble to give themselves a chance to go into the playoffs. Obviously they didn't. But even still, CP3 comes to the Suns. They become the 2nd seed, one of the best teams in the league, arguably the best team in the league right now. Obviously, Lakers probably the best while they're healthy. Good.
With Chris Paul, does he deserve the MVP over Jokic? We would say no.
I would say no.
Embiid?
No.
How about Julius Randle?
I would say that's arguable because he played more. He played a good portion of the season compared to Embiid. Embiid got played with getting injured. If he didn't get injured, he probably would have been MVP.
I get it, but Embiid's season, I think, has just been way too dominant.
Okay, fair enough.
Julius Randle, does he have a better case?
I think Julius Randle. I would take Julius.
We don't have to explain. We got it.
I'm
no,
with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you on Julius.
We're with you on that one.
Okay, then Donovan Mitchell.
I would take Chris Paul. Because that Utah Jazz team all around is very good.
Steph Curry.
I would say Giannis before Chris Paul.
Giannis too, yeah. No doubt about it.
I would say James Harden too.
No.
But he's been hurt. I think Kyrie has a better case.
If that's fair. The only thing that has been going against Kyrie is the media. If he listen, I'm not telling him to shut up and
50, 40, 90.
I respect what he's doing.
The reason why
2nd seed.
The reason why I wouldn't say Kyrie is because when Harden and KD went out and Kyrie was playing, Kyrie couldn't beat the Bulls. Mm-hmm. When both Kyrie and KD went out, James Harden kept them where they were.
But
Harden's amazing.
I'm saying, like, just if we're talking off injuries, I would say Harden over Chris Paul, but I can't give Kyrie that because Kyrie goes out and they don't miss a beat. Harden goes out, KD and Kyrie lose a couple games. They don't look the same. KD goes out, Harden and Kyrie don't really miss a beat, but the consistent is when Harden goes out, they miss a beat. When Harden's there, they don't miss a beat. So that's why I wouldn't. Kyrie,
because they don't have to be the primary ball handlers.
I can't really say Kyrie over Chris Paul because Kyrie's impact. Missing
I
Kyrie,
can't say it either,
we can
but
still
I understand.
Missing Kyrie, you can
what
still
about
say.
Dame?
See,
I can't.
Kawhi.
No, with load management, he ruins his MVP case every year.
I mean, I really think that there. We named about a couple guys there, but I think there are 5 to 6 definitive guys that have a better case than Chris Paul. So I think we all agreed, though, Nikola Jokic should win the MVP. Definitely. Let's see if he does win the MVP. Most improved player. I mean, my guy is Julius Randle.
Yeah, I think we can all agree.
Yeah, that's a
Julius
fact.
Randle, easy. I mean, this guy got the jersey right behind me. He is the GOAT, for real. So, then the Rookie of the Year.
That's where it's going to get tricky.
I'm going to go first.
Okay.
I think Anthony Edwards is the Rookie of the Year.
So, it's
My
funny.
guy.
We both flipped. Because how last episode I was on, I said that Anthony Edwards is going to win Rookie of the Year. I'm LaMelo Ball now.
You're LaMelo. What changed? What changed about LaMelo?
I think he played a decent amount of games. 51 games. He started 31. He was third amongst rookies in rebounds. He was second in points. He led rookies in assists. He averaged over a steal and a half a game, so he showed that he's still versatile on both sides of the ball. And he brought his team to the. I wouldn't say he brought because they have a good core, but he was definitely the reason why. One of the strong reasons why they made a push towards the playoffs. Obviously, they didn't end up making it. Regardless of the fact, the Wolves they didn't even sniff the play-in games. You know what I mean? Anthony Edwards has good cast around him too. I mean, I'm taking Karl Anthony Towns over every single player on the Hornets.
He's been injured though.
That's true, but even still, I mean, he's played enough. I think he was out in the beginning of the season with COVID.
That core has played like 13 games together.
You're saying the Wolves?
When D'Lo's there, D'Lo and Cat are there, they have a winning record.
D'Lo was out.
When they all play, they're winning.
Months.
They have a winning record. They've been out for a long time. So I'm not going to say.
So you're saying next season they're going to be?
Listen, the Minnesota Timberwolves are a travesty. I'm not going to sit here and say they would have made the playoffs, but I would say Anthony Edwards. I don't know what happened when LaMelo went out. He started to look like a completely different guy, and then when LaMelo came back, he still was on go. He still looked phenomenal. His scoring jumped up. His percentage jumped up. He just was showing us that he can really be a superstar in this league. I think the award can go either way, but I would personally give it to Anthony Edwards because of his jump from where he was at the beginning of the year towards the end. Like, he made solid improvements every month. Even when the guys came back, he still looked like the best player on the court with Cat and D'Lo in some of those games when they were winning. So, me personally, I would just gear towards Anthony Edwards.
Okay. You know what I think it is as well? I think it is. It's kind of like what happened 2 years ago with Luka and Trey. But the difference is that Luka and Trey both played the entire season. We saw Luka the entire year played well from the start to the finish. Trey Young, first half of the season, was really inefficient.
Yeah.
But then in that second half, he started having these magical performances. The same thing can be said for Anthony Edwards. What's going to hurt LaMelo in this case is that he was hurt. He missed 20 games.
Yep.
And Anthony Edwards, while LaMelo was hurt, was dominating the headlines, was dominating the highlights, had fantastic performances. I mean, he finished averaging 19 points per game, shooting 42% from the field and 33% from three. I don't think those are horrible numbers compared to where he was starting from, where he was really inefficient. I mean, there was a point in time where he was shooting like high 30% from the field.
Can you repeat his percentages again?
42% from the field and 33% from the 33. Yeah.
LaMelo averaged 43.6 and 35.2.
Yes, I mean, I think that's pretty similar,
Yeah,
especially
for sure.
talking about how Anthony Edwards
is a close race.
Scorer.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just go with Anthony Edwards because I think you got to reward a guy for playing the entire season. He did not miss a game the entire season.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I think Minnesota also, you talk about Karl Anthony Towns and stuff, but I think the Hornets have better coaching, and all around, I think their team is better. They have more depth.
Okay.
And LaMelo's been amazing. I'm not going to knock him, but I kind of think that the hype got to everybody's head because he is not I wouldn't call maybe third best player on the team. I mean, I think Hayward is over him. Rozier is over him.
I would say Hayward is 1.
Hayward is 1. Rozier is 2. LaMelo is 3. But on
it's
some
his
nights,
year. It's his rookie year.
Yeah, no doubt. But on some nights,
He's
Devontae
5.
Graham could be better.
PJ
Miles
Washington.
Bridges could be better. I wouldn't say PJ. I would
Not
say Miles
on nights. I'm saying on nights he can be
Devontae
better.
Graham is very inconsistent compared to LaMelo.
But on nights, he could bug out
listen,
and be
I'm
the
not
best.
disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. Devontae Graham, when he's in his bag, is nice.
And I think like yesterday's game kind of hurt them in a sense. I think it kind of put everybody in the okay. Let's relax on LaMelo and Charlotte. Let's relax on the hype and all that because they got blown out by the G League team of the Pacers. If we're being honest, so.
Shea Brissett had 23.
Look at that.
We'll see what happens next season if he plays a full season. I mean, him breaking his hand probably ruined all the momentum that he had going for him.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
But I get what you're saying about playing every single game. That is very impressive. And the fact he led all rookies in scoring. What more could you really ask for?
So, sixth man of the year. My guy is Jordan Clarkson.
Yep.
I think he's the sixth man of the year. Like, no doubt about it. I don't know if you guys have somebody different.
I've been on the Jordan Clarkson 6 man a year train for like 4 months, man.
I'm not happy about giving this award to him. Not at all.
He has completely changed the trajectory of the Utah Jazz. Not just him, but I think he's one of the main reasons, coming in last year, kind of like, fitting into the role, but then this year taking that big leap, Quinn Snyder giving him the keys off the bench and saying, look, just go out there and score. That's what we need you to do. We need more scoring. Just go out there, go get a bucket. And that's what Jordan Clark is best at doing, coming off the bench and just igniting that spark. Even when Donovan Mitchell went down, Mike Conley went down, he was coming off that bench and keeping them in games. I think he put up 40 points one time off the bench. So he's been dominant off the bench. Other than D Rose, which is probably the only other guy I see, like, if you could put the award over him, but I got Jordan Clarkson as my 6 man of the year.
Bogdanovich on the Jazz, does he start every game?
Yeah, he starts.
Okay, he's very good. Bro averages 17 points a game.
Joe Ingles comes off the bench.
Okay, and Joe Ingles has been playing very solid this
He
season
has a
too.
case,
Yeah.
too.
No, but I got Jordan Clarkson. It's upsetting because when he played with LeBron, he was horrible, but he's definitely revitalized his career in Utah. He's shooting 42.5 from the field, 34 from three. I mean, he's taking a lot of shots, so I get why the percentages are, I guess, a little bit lower than what you would want a high-efficient scorer to be. But, no, this guy's, I mean, he's averaging close to 19 points a game. He definitely has earned this award.
Defensive player of the year. My guy's Rudy Gobert. 2 Utah Jazz players. I mean, Rudy Gobert is averaging 2.7 blocks per game. The Jazz are 11.9 points better when he's on the floor. Shooters are 7.7% worse when he's the one contesting the shots. And he tops the NBA in defensive field goal attempts at 19.1. His defensive rating is 100.9. And his plus minus for the season is plus 728. I think he is the defensive player of the year by far. I know Ben Simmons has a case, but I don't think it's over Rudy Gobert, especially when you look at what the Jazz have done this season, being the first seed.
I mean, I have Gobert as my defensive player of the year too. I wanted to give it to Ben, especially with the fact that Embiid went down. He still kept his team at the 1 seed. I know the Sixers have a good unit around them, but obviously I feel like Ben did a good portion of that work, especially defensively. You guys were arguing with me that he can't play guard 1 to 5, but I mean, he has a pretty good history. I mean, there's been moments where the 5 has definitely burned him, but even still, you ask him to play against the 5 for a play or two, I'm sure that he could do that. Another case in Ben's favor, when he played Rudy Gobert, he dropped 40 on him. I think Rudy Gobert is going to win this award. As you said, the defensive rating that he had is unbelievable. Averaging almost 3 blocks a game is crazy. 13.5 rebounds a game. Like, this dude's solid. His team's the number 1 seed in the West, overall number 1 seed. So, I mean, it's deserved that he's going to win it, but there's definitely a case for Ben, like you said.
This, like, oh my God, I was caught between 3 people. I feel like the Defensive Player of the Year award needs to get like expanded. I think we need to look at it at a different lens. And don't get me wrong, I get Rudy Gobert's case. He's one of the best rim protectors in the league. He's one of the, he stops everything. He deflects. He's really an elite defender down low. But I think, like, when you look at guys like Bam Adebayo, Draymond Green, guys who can, defend at the rim and then go out and guard perimeter players, I think that needs to be like something that needs to be talked about. Rudy Gobert, for all his great defensive effectiveness on the perimeter, he looks like a liability against stars. You get him in the pick and roll out there, he becomes weak. I think with Bam Adebayo, you get him in the pick and roll out there, he becomes dangerous. He can still guard your wings, your point guards, elite or not. Kevin Durant, James Harden, Steph Curry, it doesn't really matter. He can go out there, he can stick them. Same with Draymond. You put him in the pick and roll, he can go out there and guard your perimeter players, your LeBrons, your Paul George, your Kawhis, your KD, so it doesn't matter. But, like, I think they're going to give it to Rudy Gobert, but I personally think, Bam Adebayo should get Defensive Player of the Year this year. I think his impact on Miami, being one of the 5 best defensive teams in the league. I think has something to be said. His rim protecting is elite. At 6'10", he can go out there and guard. He can literally, you say Ben can do it. Ben can literally, and he has the numbers to back it up, guard 1 through 5, no matter who it is, whether it be an elite player, all-star, he can do it. So I personally would give it to Bam Adebayo.
I mean, before the season, I had Bam Adebayo winning Defensive Player of the Year, so I wouldn't be mad with that pick. I think it could go either way. Maybe it favors Bam because Rudy has already won Defensive Player of the Year.
He's like 2 in a year, right?
Two in a row. So
I feel like if the Jazz weren't the 1 seed, I could understand that logic. But them being the number 1 overall one too.
Yeah.
And I believe Coach of the Year has already been named. It's Monty Williams.
Yep.
They voted him as Coach of the Year.
I was upset about that.
You thought it should have been Tom
Tibbs,
Thibodeau?
yeah, man.
I think it should have been Thibodeau,
I would have
too.
gave it to Tibbs. You know, that team was projected to be one of the worst teams in the league.
Another lottery pick, and they go to the 4th seed overall. Come on, I mean, you know what I mean, in the East. That's ridiculous.
I'd have gave it to my boy Tibbs. That'd have been his second, too. Probably no, I think it'd have been his third.
The Suns had a 17-game improvement, though.
What did the Knicks have that?
They had probably like a 20-game improvement.
It had to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think it should have been the Knicks, too, not going to lie.
Turning them, not just the record, turning them into a top
Tibbs.
4 defense in the league.
Aren't they number 1?
I think they're 3rd in defensive rating.
Okay.
Helping Julius Randle get to that all-star, all-NBA caliber level, the improvements in RJ Barrett and the team. I think Coach of the Year, they need to just look at more than records, Monty Williams gets credit too, but I think him and Chris Paul kind of share the load in that sense. But I think Tom Thibodeau, he started it all, getting there, implementing that culture, implementing that defensive integrity. Like, I know I was a Bulls fan. We had D Rose out there playing defense, so he really implementing all that and getting that team to be where it's at. It's no reason why he shouldn't have won it. That's crazy.
Yeah, Knicks were number 1 in points allowed. So another thing to give credit to Tibbs. You got Chris Paul, who brings like another coaching mind into the Suns organization.
They have a scorer in Devin Booker.
Well, there you go. And with the Knicks, Julius Randle, he's been playing out of his mind, but I don't think that he's at that coaching position yet, obviously. You don't really have anyone on the Knicks that is like that other than, I guess, D Rose. But D Rose didn't get there until what, second half of the season?
Yep.
I feel like that's more credit to Tibbs. Tibbs really epitomized what you want out of your head coach. You're asking a lot out of your players. The players are giving back to what the coach is preaching to them, and it's showing on the court. And the numbers don't lie. You bring this group of guys to the number 1 defense in points right now, and offensively, could they be a little bit better? Sure, but that's just the talent that they have right now. Credit to Tibbs. Credit to Tibbs.
We're going to talk about the first round of the NBA playoffs. We're going to start with the West, going from the 1, 2, 3, then 4 series on each conference. So the first series, Utah Jazz are either going to face the Memphis Grizzlies or the Golden State Warriors. For time's sake, I'm guessing we're all just going off the assumption that they will probably face Golden State.
Okay.
Right? And if they're going to face Golden State, the Warriors are 2-1 against the Jazz this year in the regular season, but Mitchell didn't play for the last matchup.
Conley didn't either.
And like I mentioned earlier, I think the Jazz right here, they're facing a 5th-seeded team in the Warriors. They're not facing an 8th-seeded team. They're facing a team who can really light it up because of Steph Curry. He's averaging 32 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, close to 6. I personally have the Jazz in 6.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a much closer series than people expect. I have them in 6 because I think the defensive game plan they're going to have on Steph Curry is just going to be insane. I think you saw glimpses of it with the Lakers double-teaming him, but I think the Jazz are going to take it to another level in terms of the double teams, maybe incorporate some boxing ones and really try to mess with Steph Curry that way. But all in all, I think it's going to be a tough series because you look at the Jazz, their best defender is Royce O'Neal. Maybe Mike Conley gets put on Curry, but I think it's going to be Royce O'Neal. I really don't trust that, against Curry. I don't trust anybody against Curry. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have to double him. So it's really about the Warriors hitting their shots, and especially with Draymond being that small ball center, it can really affect Gobert because in those pick and roll situations where Draymond is coming up, setting up a screen for Curry, Gobert is going to have the responsibility of trapping Curry with whoever whoever's defending Curry at the point in time. When Draymond gets the ball, it's it's 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Draymond always knows how to make the right play, and that's going to be something that is going to be tough for Utah to handle.
You know, it's the playoffs. Throw everything out of what happened in the regular season to new basketball, new intensity. We saw it last night, the Lakers and the Warriors. We saw the refs letting them get a little physical. There was a lot of contact out there. I love to see it. I think the Jazz, I think this is the best matchup, and that's because for Rudy Gobert, I think, like you said, you touched on it, Draymond being at the 5 is going to really put some damage on Rudy Gobert because in that pick and roll, we saw last night, sometimes Steph just ran around the big. He just blew past the big, went for a layup, and even if he didn't, his counters are so impressive. He'll throw it to Draymond and keep running, which will leave his man, and then he'll get an open layup or he'll get an open 3. I think in this series, Draymond has to be more effective when he gets that ball. He has to make a quick move, whether it be to take the 3, which I don't have a problem with, or take the floor to the layup. If Rudy Gobert's not in the paint, you should take it every time. I've seen it a few times. He tried to dunk on a few dudes. He be wilding. But yeah, and it's just the other guys, who's going to be out there. I think their best lineup last night, they was putting out Mulder, Poole, Wiggins, and Draymond. I think, and with Steph out there, 2 shooters. Wiggins is all right. He's an all right shooter. And then Draymond at the 5. I think you're going to have to be ready to put out a shooting lineup because the Utah Jazz are one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league. They have a Donovan Mitchell who can explode for 10 points in 2 to 3 minutes. Mike Conley, who's been very improved this year. He looks like the old Mike Conley. Joe Ingles and Jordan Clarkson off that bench. Bogdan in the starting lineup, he can shoot. So this is a good team. This is a very good offensive team, and I think it's going to really come down to defense. Both of these teams are elite defensively. Warriors not being that great in the clutch defensively, but this is a team, Utah, where they have the best player. The Warriors have the best player in the court at all times. They just have to really utilize, getting Rudy Gobert in foul trouble, exploiting his weakness on the perimeter because that's one of their best players, getting him out the game. Because the Warriors want Utah to run small ball. If they run small ball, that is the Warriors' best asset, playing at the small ball, doing that. I think Kevon Looney's also going to be huge. He's been playing well, defending the post, defending bigs, getting defensive rebounds, running the pick and roll. So it's going to be a tough series. But with all that being said, I have the Jazz in 6. I just think they're a superior team. They're going to throw a lot of doubles at Steph. Steph's going to have his 30, but I just think the Jazz have too much firepower. So I have the Jazz in 6.
See, you said something there. You would put Michael Mulder over Toscano Anderson?
It depends because if you need scoring, yeah, I would. Because I think JTA can hit the shot, but Mulder's obviously more efficient. So I think in a situation where Steph is being double teamed and you throw it out to Draymond, Draymond's going to need multiple options to hit for a 3-point shot. So it depends on a certain situation. But if it looks like a grind out defensive game, obviously I'm going to put JT out there. He's a smarter player. He's baby Draymond.
So I feel like what this comes down to for me is experience. And I feel like who has more playoff experience than the Warriors? I do think Utah come out on top, but I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think Utah, if they're going to win this series, it's going to be in 7. I feel like this is the best we've ever seen Steph Curry playing at, and he's won a unanimous MVP. And this man is just surprising me night in, night out with the way he's playing. Last night, he showed me something that I didn't think that he was built like that, but I got to give him his credit. This man can shoot with his eyes closed and make a bucket. That being said, I don't know if there's someone on the Jazz that can keep up with Steph Curry. His off-ball movement is probably the greatest I've ever seen from a guard. This man, his cardio, his running is like none other. He's running back and forth without the ball, trying to get himself open. There was a play last night. Dre was just at the top of the key. Curry runs to the basket, runs to the three-point line, then runs back for the cut to get an easy layup. Only Curry's doing something like that. If you had Wiggins motivated the way that Curry's motivated right now, that would be enormous for the Warriors because they just need one other guy that's putting in the effort that this guy Curry is putting into the team for them to really make some noise. I'm not going to discredit Wiggins because Wiggins has been pretty solid. He could be a little bit more consistent, be a little more assertive in his approach at the game, but I feel right now the Jazz are definitely the stronger team overall. They have more talent around them, so that's why I think that they'll ultimately win. But I think that the Warriors are going to give them a really good fight.
The thing with me is when I look at the Jazz and the Warriors, this is just matchup-wise, it's not good because you have Draymond who them playing small is going to affect Rudy Gobert. Mm-hmm. I know Jazz fans feel like it won't because we've read the comments before and they they defend their team. But that being said, it is a real thing. Rudy Gobert in the playoffs, when teams play small, we saw it against Houston, his impact is neutralized. But also, what we're not talking about is that Wiggins has been a top 10 or if not top 5 perimeter defender in the NBA this season. And if he's matched up on Donovan Mitchell,
It's gonna be rough.
and Donovan Mitchell coming off an injury, not having played that much near the end of the year, if he is rusty and Wiggins does defend him really well, who else is going to step up and take on that scoring load? It can be Jordan Clarkson, but even then, you don't know because Jordan Clarkson
And he's
has
had playoff
tendency
woes.
to be inefficient.
Streaky.
So, if Wiggins can guard Mitchell and really neutralize his game, that's going to be a lot of trouble for the Jazz. I mean, like I said, this is not an 8th-seeded team. This is a 5th-seeded team. So like you mentioned, Curry is the best player in the series, but I do think the Jazz just have way too much talent with Conley, Bogdanovich, Joe Ingles off the bench, Clarkson, Derek Favors. Like, they have a lot of guys, but, I mean, just a question for you guys. If you are the Jazz, what are you doing? Are you double-teaming Steph? Are you forcing the ball out of his hands? Or are you putting O'Neal on him, letting Steph go off, making sure guys don't hit shots?
Well, I'm going to use one of the regular season games as, an example. They blew them out by 50, the Jazz, but Steph had an efficient 30 points. Like, he looked well. He looked good. The team just didn't show up. And Royce O'Neal isn't a bad defender. I don't think I think he's a good defender. I think Mike Conley is also a good defender. With them throwing out, they're probably going to start Curry, Wiggins, I don't know who the two guard is, but they're probably going to put out Draymond and Kevon Looney. I think double teaming.
Bazemore.
Yeah, Bazemore. I think double teaming him would be the best. Leave Kevon Looney open because he sometimes like to stand at the 3-point line. I don't know why in the corner.
Is Oubre out for the season?
No, he's just out.
Okay.
They said he should be back probably game 2 or game 3.
Okay.
But, I think double teaming him would be the best bet and just letting the other players beat you. That's been the theme all year. This team, they as of late, them and the Knicks have been one of the hottest teams over the past 2 months. But I think come playoff time, this is the team where you're like, all right, we have to lock down Steph and let everybody else beat us. If everybody else beat us, they deserve to win this series. But I think their game is to neutralize Steph Curry because he can get off and get hot. Once he gets hot, he initiates that aurora on everybody else, and then everybody else starts to feel it, and then the game is over.
Yeah, there's no shot in the NBA that's as devastating as Steph Curry's 3. He could go 0 for 8. He hits that first 3, the game could change. So I feel like the Jazz's mentality have to be let anyone else beat us other than Steph Curry. I feel like that would give them the best chance to win because these other guys, they can't rely on Poole, can't rely on Tucker. I'm sorry, I keep blanking on his name.
Toscano.
JT.
Anderson.
There you go.
Say
Toscano
JT.
Anderson. Draymond, Wiggins. I mean, he dropped a cool 21, but I don't know if that you can guarantee him to do that every single night. And I feel like you'd rather put the pressure on them than Curry, or you know what I mean? Like make them, let them get their buckets. Curry, you got to do your best to try and shut him down.
In the scenario that they do face the Memphis Grizzlies and the Grizzlies beat the Warriors, I have the Jazz beating them in 4. I think it's a sweep.
I think Memphis matches up well, but they don't have a star. I don't think I think JV is, they can play that big bully ball, get down low. They have shooters. They're not a great 3-point shooting team, but they play a style where they can get in on Utah. But with that being said, I don't think they have a star. I think Donovan Mitchell is clear as day, better than Memphis. Same with Rudy Gobert.
Memphis doesn't have a star?
No, not yet.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think.
Ja isn't a star yet?
Not yet. I don't think he's a star yet.
Okay.
I think Donovan and Gobert are just above and beyond Memphis.
Okay.
Those two guys. I think Mike Conley, I would think is better than Utah, and that's 3 players alone. So I think Utah, like you said, Utah in 4. I think Memphis can make a couple games. Probably at Memphis tough, but I would have Utah in 4. I think that'd be an easy series for them.
I think it'd probably be Utah in 4 or 5. I mean, I wouldn't count out John Moran and Valanciunas going crazy for one game and upsetting them one time, but for a good portion of that series is going to be Utah dominating.
Yeah, I think so too. Now on to the next series, the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Dallas Mavericks, a rematch of last year's first round matchup. The Mavs are 2-1 against the Clippers this year, but Kawhi didn't play for one of those games. I had the Clippers in 6. Same as last year. It could be 5. I think this Clippers team is different, and the Dallas Mavericks have a worse defensive rating this year than they did last year, when their offense also this year is significantly worse. Trading Seth Curry for Josh Richardson has been a disaster of a move. They allow 113 opponents points per 100 possessions, and I think it's just the Luka show. When you look at everybody, Maxi Kleber, he averages like 6 points, and he plays 20-plus minutes. You look at Josh Richardson, very inefficient from 3. You're not sure what you're going to get from Kristaps Porzingis. Dorian Finney-Smith, I do like him as a player. Jalen Brunson off the bench, Tim Hardaway Jr. But I just think this Clippers team is so much different because they got rid of their liabilities. Montrezl Harrell was a liability on defense and couldn't stretch out the floor on offense. And then Lou Williams, we know he's a great scorer, but he is a liability on defense. You added guys like Rondo, Ibaka, who can stretch the floor, Luke Kennard, who can stretch the floor, Terrence Mann, who's been really playing well for the Clippers, and Nicholas Batum, who is a good two-way player. I just think that the Clippers have far more talent. They have the best player in the series in Kawhi Leonard, and I don't think the Mavericks are going to surprise the Clippers this year like they did last year. I think last year, Luka still hot. Coming into the playoffs, you weren't sure what he was going to be, but now having played them already, I think it's going to be a different series. And I see Clippers in 6, but I could see it in 5 too.
Okay.
You guys know I'm a Paul George homer, so you know how that is.
Really?
But yeah,
I had no clue.
well, with that, Clippers in 6. I think this team, Dallas is a good team. I think they have good pieces. But like you said, and I agree with you. I think it's too much Luka. I think everything revolves around Luka. They rely too much on him heavily, and we've seen that. With James Harden, sometimes it gets taxing and it gets hard, and sometimes in a playoff series, it just becomes too much. And when you focus on that one person, rhythm is everything for an NBA player, and the other guys don't get rhythm. And then when you finally need them, they don't show up. With that being said, I think the Clippers are deep. We saw with Terrence Mann, he making that jump. He played well when he gets the minutes, getting in Rondo. Ibaka, he's back. He looked good the last 2-3 games. They was getting him ready. Zubac has been great for that defense. I think Nicholas Batum has been good. That Morris, Kawhi, Paul George wing tandem is incredible. And I think this team is really geared up for a rematch of the Dallas Mavericks. They can throw multiple defenders at Luka Doncic. They can throw PG, Kawhi, Morris, Pat Bev. They can do whatever they want. They can switch everything on defense, so that's going to be perfect for them. If Ibaka's out there, they can really switch everything. So that's going to be great for them. I think Luka's going to run a lot of high pick and rolls in the team and just find his players, but I think this team is just too loaded. I mean, last year we saw in the bubble, Kawhi and Luka have dominant playoff series, and, Kawhi took them out. This year is going to be a little different. I think they're going to have a little bit more help. I don't think Lou Will didn't show up. Montrezl Harrell didn't really play well. I think this year is just going to be Paul George didn't show up, so I think this – I see what you tried to do.
Hey,
there.
listen, I think
this is just going to be a little better this year. With Tyronn Lue, they trust in Tyronn Lue. I don't think they trust in Doc Rivers last year. I think this year they trust in Tyronn Lue.
It's interesting.
They trust in Chauncey Billups. They trust in Lawrence Frank. I think they trust in the whole staff. And I think Tyronn Lue trusts his guys back. So I think it's going to be a different 5 this year, 4-5. It's going to be a great matchup, but I got Clippers in 6.
I don't know how much that was on Doc Rivers last year, given the fact that he went to Philly and automatically made them a first seed.
What was adjustments when he played Denver?
Mm-hmm.
Really bad adjustments.
Okay.
Like, he didn't make adjustments.
As well as the players not living up to expectation.
Oh, of course. In terms of the coaching, though, he was horrible.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I do have the Clippers winning in 6 too. But last year, what the key was for the Mavericks was KP playing at high of a level as he was before he got hurt, which ended up being the big turn in the series where the Clippers they ended up taking care of Dallas relatively easy because all you had to do was just put 2-3 people on Luka every time. But now you got KP, who's coming back from injury. He's been playing relatively well. I think he averaged 20 this season. I like where they're at. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis to me is the key player. I know Luka has to be the best player for the Mavericks, but Kristaps Porzingis brings something to the table that the Clippers have difficulty with playing defense against. I mean, you mentioned Zubac, you mentioned Ibaka, but KP is so versatile with scoring the basketball that he can shoot the three very, very well, and he can kill you down low. I mean, Kristaps, if he can get hot and he can find a way to manipulate the game enough to make the Clippers uncomfortable, I can see this being a difficult series for the Clippers. But even still, I feel like the Clippers are going to come out on top. Like you mentioned, they have too much firepower. They're definitely revamped in the sense that they're more right now. They are built for their strengths right now, as opposed to last year where it was too much of it was a hot mess.
Yeah.
To save a few words. But you bring in Rondo, who brings in a great mentality, a guy who can take the ball out of Kawhi's hands, Paul George's hands, feed them in motion, get them their shots, be the floor general that they really needed last year. So I feel like the Clippers, like you said, they're going to handle business, but I think Dallas makes it more of a series.
Dallas has some good wing defenders, but we saw last year in the playoffs where they had Maxi Kleber and Kawhi.
It got bad.
That was just the dominating
It got
matchup.
bad fast.
Kawhi dominated him. I think Rick Carlisle has to put Dorian Finney-Smith on Kawhi. I think that's your best hope. I think he's their best perimeter defender. They're hoping Josh Richardson can be that too for them. But the problem with Josh Richardson is that when you put him in the game, you really don't know what you're going to get with his three-point shooting and his spacing because he's very consistent. But I could see Dorian Finney-Smith and Josh Richardson matching up on both Kawhi and Paul George. Even then, I still have Kawhi and Paul George dominating that matchup. Maybe not Paul George because he does tend to disappear, like Houdini. But Kawhi, I think he will dominate. We all know that in the playoffs, he puts it on to another level. So, obviously I have the Clippers in 6. It could be 5 because I think this Mavericks team is worse than it was last year. Losing Seth Curry was a very underrated loss. They didn't take into account how big of a piece he really was. And now you look at Philly, and his spacing has been a big key reason as to why they are the first seed right now. Next series in the Western Conference, I think this is my favorite series. The Nuggets, 3rd seed versus the Portland Trail Blazers. They are the 6th seed. The Nuggets are 2-1 against the Blazers in the regular season. This is a rematch of the 2019 Western Conference semis where Portland won in 7 games. CJ McCollum had a dominant performance, and he was just knocking down shots left and right on Torrey Craig late in that game. And Portland Trailblazers will upset Denver Nuggets.
Oh, I thought I was the only one that's going to say that.
The Trailblazers will beat the Denver Nuggets. And if you look at the stats, the regular season stats, Portland is the 29th ranked. They have the 29th defensive rating in the NBA. But in the last 28 games, they have had a top 15 defense and one of the best ranked offenses in the NBA. You look at the backcourt, Dame and CJ versus who? Monte Morris and Will Barton?
No.
Or
Facundo
Campazzo. But if Morris, I don't know if Morris is going to be healthy or not. Yeah. But if he's not healthy and it's Campazzo and Barton, I mean, talk about a mismatch.
Oh, Barton isn't healthy either.
Talk about a mismatch when you talk about the backcourt.
Will pick up one of them?
Good luck.
He'll try. I mean, but what other option are they going to have?
PJ Dozier, Austin Rivers.
That plays good defense.
Yeah.
Maybe Aaron Gordon can switch on to them and play.
Have to.
That would be something.
It'll depend, but for me, I think just when you talk about the backcourt, I mean, it favors Portland so much.
Yep.
Then you talk about the front court. Obviously, Jokic is the best player. He's the best player in the series, I think. But also, you got Yusuf Nurkic back. And Yusuf Nurkic always had a chip on his shoulder when he faces Jokic because Denver kept Jokic instead of Nurkic. Nurkic was traded to Portland because they wanted to, really give Jokic the keys. So he has a chip on his shoulder. He's been playing better and is cancer off the bench. But I also think Michael Porter Jr., he is the second best player on Denver. But Portland has Robert Covington and Derrick Jones Jr., who both can guard Michael Porter Jr. and take turns and minimize his impact somewhat. We'll see how he performs. But outside of Jokic and Porter Jr., I mean, who else are you relying on Denver? Aaron Gordon is not going to give you more than 15 points per game. I mean, he's been averaging 10 points per game on Denver this season. Paul Millsap is old. He's not the same player he once was. And I just think the Blazers just have way too much guys. I mean, Dame, CJ, Norman Powell, Covington, Nurkic. You have Melo.
That's true.
Also, they have 6 players averaging double figures on the year. I think it's going to be a close series, though. I have the Blazers in 7. I think it's a 7-game series because Jokic is going to be that great. And Porter Jr., I think, is going to have some breakout performances. But I think the Blazers will beat the Denver Nuggets.
You know, we're about to see the MVP lose in the first round. It sucks. It really does suck. But you look at Portland, and you see, listen, this is a first-round matchup, and I think walking in, Dame's going to be the best player on the court. You know, I think first-round series, he lives for this moment, you know, coming off last year where he did his thing. You know, they did lose, but he did his thing for the most part. And we've seen over the past 2-3 years, Dame completely dominate in the first round, you know, whether it be a buzzer beater or outperforming another point guard. He's done his thing. And with no Jamal Murray to counter him, I think he's going to just live for that matchup with Monte Morris and Facundo Campazzo. CJ McCollum, I think he's going to have a field day. Norman Powell, he can get it going. He can get hot. Melo, he can get it going. He can get hot. You know, this is a team that has a lot of scoring, and I just don't think Denver is healthy enough, you know, to really keep up. I think Joker's going to keep him in the series, and it sucks that Denver isn't healthy. But what we're looking at right now, I think this is Portland's perfect opportunity to definitely steal this series. You know, I think they're the underseed, but I think right now they're the better team with all the injuries to Denver. So I would take Portland in 6. I can see 5 games. I think the Joker is going to be dominant, but Nurkic is no scrub, you know. Like, he can put up a calm 15 and 10, 16 and 10. He can do that. And I think with that counter with Dame and CJ in the backcourt, Robert Covington, Melo, Anthony Simmons, you know, Norman Powell, I think this team has so much offense. I just don't think Denver is healthy enough to combat with Portland's offense. So I got Portland in 6.
So I have a question for both of you. If Jamal Murray was healthy, would it completely change your output on the series?
Denver wins.
Easily?
Not easily.
Okay.
I would say Denver in 7.
Okay. Listen, since Jamal's gone out, Denver's been playing, I wouldn't say significantly better. They've been playing better. I mean, they went from the 5th seed to the 3 seed. Granted, Lakers had a bunch of injuries.
Clippers decided to tank.
That was we were going to talk. Well, we already spoke about it, but that was sad.
How do you tank and you're in the playoffs?
Because they're scared.
Tanking means to tank for
the boys.
A lot. Nobody's scared of you guys. You just
no
barely
one's scared
beat the
of
Warriors.
us. Then why did the Nuggets lose on purpose?
It's called.
And why did the Blazers?
Why would you go play 7 games in the first? Like, why would you put in all your chips to play you guys in the first round and put all that energy in, and then have to now dog out second when we could just wait? You know, play 75, 80%, beat these teams, and then be reloaded to play you guys when it matters the most.
Yeah, you just explained exactly what it means to be scared of someone in a nice way.
It's called being smarter.
Okay, so scared.
You should be lucky because AD looks terrible. That's what you should be lucky at.
You know, it's funny, too. He looked terrible last night and still dropped 25.
Oh, my God.
And we still won.
25 points. It's incredible.
Yeah, that is pretty incredible, especially when he's got to play defense.
On who? With Draymond?
Draymond, that's a good point.
Yeah, come on.
Point. You got a good point. But we're talking against the Suns. He's going to have to play against Ayton. We're about to see if what's Ayton made
We'll get
of.
to that. We'll get
That's
to
a
that.
fact. Either way. I got the Nuggets winning, actually. You guys gave me some good points, and a lot of it makes sense. But the fact that the Nuggets have been playing so well, even after you lose one of your key pieces on offense, your second best player in Jamal Murray, I just feel like they're just going to keep it going into the playoffs. I know that Dame has had unbelievable moments in the past. Damian Lillard easily could be the best player in this series. I just feel like Joker has had such a great handle of the game, every game that he plays. His player efficiency ratings #1 in the NBA for a reason. He just knows how to make the smart play, both defensively and offensively. Obviously, he could be a little bit better defensively, but even still, he's very smart on both aspects of the court. I just feel like he's going to be the key for Denver to obviously win. I feel like Aaron Gordon's going to have a big part in this series too. You were saying how you really can't rely on him offensively. But, you know, when you have a guy like Michael Porter Jr. who has exploded since Jamal Murray going down, you need Michael Porter Jr. to be that guy where he drops, like we had on the last show. You were talking like you can see him dropping 25 points in a series. He could do that this series. Who's going to guard Michael Porter Jr. this series? I don't know anyone. I mean, you have someone like Jokic who easily could average 30 points this series. You were saying how Nurkic is going to play with a chip on his shoulder. Jokic knows that too. Jokic isn't stupid. He played against AD last season in the bubble. He knew what he had to do against Anthony Davis. I mean, we smoked them, unfortunately, but he still played very well in that series. So I feel like against the Blazers, I feel like Joker is going to give them the upper hand here. So that's why I lean Nuggets. But you guys made some really good points. You have Dame, you have CJ, who obviously when it comes to backcourt, it's night and day when you compare him to the Nuggets, especially right now without Jamal Murray. But I feel like the Nuggets have just been playing such good basketball that they're going to keep that going.
I mean, I could see where you're coming from. But Michael Porter Jr. against Robert Covington, he will dominate that matchup because Covington is a really good off-ball defender and help defender, but his on-ball defense is not good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. But Derrick Jones Jr. on-ball defense is very good.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's matched up against Michael Porter Jr., I think that's going to be the primary matchup. They're going to put Derrick Jones Jr. on Michael Porter Jr., and I think he can really neutralize him.
Mm-hmm.
Can I see MPJ really ascending and showing flashes of being a superstar in this series? I definitely can. But I think when you look at Joker and MPJ, Dame and CJ will cancel out them. Just them two.
Okay.
Then we look at the rest of the guys, Barton, Covington, Nurkic, Derrick Jones Jr., Enes Kanter, Norman Powell. Who else is going to step up on Denver that you trust? I like Will Barton, but he is hurt right now. I like Monte Morris. We're not sure what his status is. I'm guessing he's going to play, though. But those aren't guys that are going to match up with the Blazers' depth. I just don't think it.
I don't even think we could fully 100% trust MPJ to put next to CJ McCollum. We've seen CJ McCollum in big moments, in big time games. He's dominated in the playoffs. MPJ, we're still in the air. Last year he played well, but he was kind of like a third, fourth option. This year stepping into that second star role in the playoffs, having to match CJ's energy. I don't know if we're 100% can say that's going to work. I also think he has the matchup advantage being 6'10", Robert Covington being 6'7". He can shoot over the top. He doesn't need to dribble the ball to get his shot up. He can come off screens, he can go to the basket. So I think he has the advantage, but it's not a full-blown
conclusion.
Yeah,
Got
thank you. I appreciate you. That's going to absolutely happen. We still have to wait and see. I think Norman Powell, we seen him do it last year in the bubble, so we can expect that he's going to come in. He's going to put up his 14, 15, maybe 16 points. He's going to have a good series. Dame and CJ, we know going to be there. Joker, we know going to be there. Monte Morris, this is a new role. We don't know we really don't know what we're going to see. We've seen him in his role be comfortable as one of the best backup point guards in the league, but now stepping in, I would start him if he's healthy. What are we going to see as a starting point guard against matchup with Dame? Will Barton, we know how he gets. He's streaky. Sometimes he can just get it going. But it's going to be tough for this team. This team is going to have to build up a lot of heart, a lot of perseverance to get this one out and gut this one out because this is a tough team. This is not a regular 6-seeded team. This is a really strong Portland offense that can really get it going, and they have a superstar in Dame. So it's going to be tough to see. But I just – it's hard to trust Denver with all the injuries and the banged up. I trust Mike Malone. I trust the Joker. But the other guys stepping into that new role, I don't know how we're going to see. So I got to rock with Portland and their experience.
All right.
Next series, Phoenix Suns versus the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah. Let's go.
The Lakers will win in 5. Listen, Phoenix Suns fans, you had a nice season. Congrats. 2nd seed. That was awesome. But it all ends soon. This season ends soon. And the Suns' biggest mistake was not drafting Tyrese Halliburton. And I know it's super off topic because we're talking about the playoffs, but when you're talking about the Phoenix Suns, who have an older point guard in CP3, who will be on a 1-year deal next season, he's going to accept that option. It's $44 million. No way he doesn't accept it.
Mm-hmm.
He will be on the team, but how much longer do you have? Can you rely on CP3 to hold down that point guard position? I think 2 to 3 seasons max. And who's going to step in that role? I don't see Cam Payne doing it, and I don't see Javon Carter. That's where they miss. And Jalen Smith right now has really been a non-factor. We'll see if he develops. But let's talk about the playoffs now. It'll be the Lakers in 5. I mean, LeBron obviously is the best player in that series by far.
Yep.
Anthony Davis is the second best player in that series also. Devin Booker has yet to showcase what he can do. I think he'll be fine, though, even though KCP will be guarding him. That won't be an easy matchup for him because KCP is a very good defender. And then you got Dennis Schroeder guarding CP3. Alex Caruso might get some minutes here and there and guard him as well. But LeBron James will not lose in the first round. It's not possible. It's just not going to happen. You know, Jordan has lost in the first round before, but LeBron doesn't. He gets to the finals.
You sure you want to go down that route?
Maybe loses in the finals, but LeBron doesn't lose in the first round.
Speaking facts.
I mean, he loses when it matters.
The thing that the Suns have looking forward for them, and that I would be excited about if I'm a Suns fan, is that they do have some good wing defenders. Jay Crowder, Torrey Craig, Mikal Bridges, all capable wing defenders that will all have to do their part in trying to stop and guard LeBron. But all in all, I think Mikal Bridges, he's too skinny for LeBron. LeBron's way too muscular. Torrey Craig, I think, would be the best matchup there, putting Torrey Craig on him. And even him, I mean, it's LeBron James. You know, and then you talk about the depth. I mean, on the Suns, their bench is Dario Saric, Campaign, Cameron Johnson. That's good. Montrezl Harrell is going to play this series.
For sure.
Because it just, you know, the Suns play big. They don't really play small like that. So Harrell is going to have a pretty good series this series. Wesley Matthews, let's see if he has a role in this series. Yesterday against the Warriors, he was phenomenal.
He did play
Alex
well.
Caruso is going to do his thing. I think he'll probably guard the hell out of Campaign. You know, I can.
Chris Paul.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
see.
he's going to be on Chris Paul and Devin Booker, too.
So the late and
Gonna
Kuzma
get
off the bench as well. Kuzma's going to bring in that scoring. I just think you look at the starting lineup, it favors the Lakers. You look at the bench, it favors the Lakers. Last year, we were talking about the Lakers being, you know, not having chemistry going into the playoffs, and people picked Portland to be a sleeper team to beat them. This year, same narrative is floating around, but the reality is that when it's playoff time, LeBron's teams always flip a switch.
Yep.
And a switch will be flipped. And I see the Lakers in 5 and no more than 5.
You know, shout out to Phoenix. Shout out to Phoenix. They had a great season. You know, shout out to Monty Williams for winning Coach of the Year. I don't really think you deserve it, but nonetheless, great award. You know, shout out to Devin Booker for a great season. Shout out to Chris Paul for getting your little MVP nominations. This reminds me of the childhood days when, you know, Chris Paul, LeBron James, first time they seen each other. I wish we would have got to see LeBron and D-Wade back when it's Cleveland and Miami. That would have been spectacular.
That would have been lit.
Yeah. With that being said, I have Lakers in 7. You know, I think the Lakers.
7 games.
I think the Lakers are. No, but I think if you don't pick the Lakers to win, you must be a guru and know the future. I think the Lakers are the better team. I think they have the best 2 guys on the floor when healthy. With that being said, what I saw last night, LeBron still isn't healthy. You know, I saw him still, that ankle still is bothering him. He doesn't have that same bounce. He's kind of moving a little slow. Anthony Davis, you know, he's still getting it under him. You know, Draymond Green was playing phenomenal defense, but he still looks a little slow, still looks a little, you know, he's not there yet. Phoenix, I don't think Phoenix has anybody with Draymond's caliber to guard Anthony Davis. I think this is an Anthony Davis series. I think he has to be the best player on the court. He has to dominate them. I think with LeBron, you know, with that ankle injury still bothering him, they're going to be able to slow him down a little bit. The thing with LeBron is, though, he's so dominant that he doesn't need to score 25, 30 points to be effective. It could be a calm 20, 10, and 15, and he'll still be the best player on the court. That's why I say this has to be an Anthony Davis series. He has to put up 25, 30 with 12, 13. Like they're going to need him to play the 5 this series. He's going to have to be dominant. Because with Phoenix, you know, they're going to run that 2-3 wing tandem and have D8 at the 5. D8, I think Andre Drummond, this is a good series for him to play with D8 out there. You know, he can guard D8 and be physical with D8. So this is going to be good for him to get some in. But with Phoenix's wings, like you said, Mikal Bridges, he's still skinny. I like to see Jay Crowder. You know, he's mad strong, so I like to see Jay Crowder on LeBron. I like to see Torrey Craig on LeBron. Cam Johnson's going to get some run on LeBron, but this team is very young and inexperienced. But I think Chris Paul, you know, he's going to be the difference maker. And I think Devin Booker, you know, that backcourt, I think is really above and beyond the Lakers' backcourt. You know, with LeBron being at the 3, I think Chris Paul and Devin Booker are way better than Dennis Schroeder and whoever they plug, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I think they're better. So I think Devin Booker is going to be able to, you know, isolate and get that and win that matchup. But I think with the Lakers still figuring out. Even last night you saw offensively they didn't look well. So I think still them figuring it out, them still being a little banged up, I think it's going to be a dugout, drag-out dogfight. So I got Lakers in 7.
So I have Lakers in 6. So before I go into my boys, I'll talk about the Suns because we all know, like, I'm gonna talk about the Lakers in depth. So
tilt your head for a second and look at the camera, and show your hat on.
Crispy. Nah, that's a clean hat. Anyways, Suns are not the matchup I would have loved. Truthfully, I would have liked to get into that 6th seed. I would have liked to play the Nuggets instead. Suns are a scary team. They have a lot of depth. We talked about Chris Paul. We talked about Devin Booker. We talked about DeAndre Ayton. That's a really firm 3. How it matches up against the Lakers' big 3, big 4. I'll throw in Schroeder in there too because Schroeder is definitely our 3rd best player. But Drummond's going to have to be huge this series for us if we want to win in 6. And I feel like he will be a big part because we saw last night Drummond really did not play a lot down the stretch. We needed to have a small ball lineup to compete with the Warriors, and it ended up working out. But as it translates to the Sun series, Drummond's going to have to be a lot bigger than he was last night because when you have Ayton, who's probably going to be playing defense on Anthony Davis, Drummond's going to get looks. And LeBron running that pick and roll with Drummond is going to be enormous for us in that series, especially if LeBron's ankle is going to be acting up. That being said, last night you mentioned a switch being flipped. I saw that on a steal that LeBron got on a transition where he went opposite side of the rim and finished with his right hand. That basket was the switch being flipped. He's one of the few players that is able to do that, where out of nowhere he could be having a horrible game, and he had a horrible first half last night. But then out of nowhere, he realized, I'm LeBron James. I got to start being more assertive. I got to start scoring the basketball because my team needs me to be this all-time guy that everyone knows that I am in order for us to be successful. And it started defensively. Once LeBron really talked to the guys, he said, listen, we got to bear down. We got to start getting turnovers. Second half, Golden State had 17 turnovers. I think they had, I think it was either 11 or 15 points in that third quarter. We just started clamping up. We really started to become disciplined on the defensive side of the ball because when that switch is flipped, we're the best defensive team in the league by far. As good as the Knicks are, when we're healthy, we're easily the best defensive team in the league because we have the personnel. And when you're going against the Suns, who DeAndre Ayton has definitely taken a huge step this year, especially with Chris Paul helping him out there, AD is significantly better than Ayton in all aspects of the game. He's a better shooter. He's a better back to the ball basketball player than Ayton is. He's a better defender than Ayton is. So right then and there, AD, like you mentioned, AD has to be the best player is the key player to us winning this series. LeBron's going to be LeBron. That's obvious. We know LeBron's going to average at least 25, 7, and 7. That's just him. But then you have Anthony Davis, who last night we saw in the first half him go ghost and still end up with 25. That's Anthony Davis. So we're going to need AD to be AD, but most importantly, Drummond is going to have to take a huge step because what I've seen from Drummond this season as a Laker so far has not impressed me. But it's playoff time, and we need a guy like Drummond to be huge, especially in a series against a really good Suns team. So I do have the Lakers in 6, but it's going to be a dogfight.
Last year, Anthony Davis was the second best player in the world.
No doubt.
In the playoffs.
There's
no doubt about it. He was the second best. I don't know why you're looking at that. Davis was the second best player.
Jimmy Butler was better.
In the world. No, he was not.
If he was better, he would have won.
Nah.
If he was better, he would have won.
No, because AD was better than everybody else.
And LeBron, too.
Oh, yeah, it's LeBron. That's what I'm saying. So, come on.
So that's the thing. But you mentioned it. You said it all. I think the Suns are still a very young team. I'm not sure how Booker will play. I'm still assuming he's going to play great because it's Devin Booker.
Yep.
But they're still a very young team, and the Lakers have too much experience, and they're just an all-around better team. So I have the Lakers in 5. Like I mentioned, you said it before, guard play favors Phoenix, but we said the same thing last year with Portland, with Houston. Said the same thing. Guard play is, going to favor them, but we know this league is about wings, having dominant wings. The Suns don't have a dominant wing.
And one thing
that's going to hurt them.
One thing I'll add to that, too, is Schroeder and Caruso and KCP do not get not nearly enough credit because they're on a team with LeBron and Anthony Davis. This guy, Dennis Schroeder, has been unbelievable all season long. It's a shame that he had to be out with COVID because his conditioning right now is not the best. But when he is 100%, this man's balls to the wall every single game he plays. His defense is locked down, especially
Balls
against...
to the wall.
That's wrong? You
No,
never
that's
heard
cool.
that?
No,
yeah,
do
no,
your
that's
thing.
him. And Caruso's the same way. Caruso last night was
What?
huge for us in our game
okay.
last night. Did you guys see that play where it was him and LeBron on a transition?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And he was gonna oop it, it looked like he was gonna oop it to Bron, and he ooped it to himself. Caruso is so underrated in that aspect of the game where
They play their roles.
they're amazing at their roles, and that's what makes the Lakers so dominant and so efficient. God.
Yeah, they play their roles fantastic. You know, you say Lakers in 7.
Yeah.
You say Lakers in 6.
I say Lakers in 6 because of how we need more time together as a squad. If it was last year's team, or if it was last year and we had been 100% healthy,
I'd
with
have said Lakers in 4 if it was last year.
100%, I agree. But against the Warriors team that I thought we were going to come out guns blazing and put them away easy, it wasn't the case. We ended up coming out cold. LeBron, go ahead.
I just think, like, you know, we say Mikal Bridges is skinny, but, you know, so is Andrew Wiggins. And he put a lot of pressure on LeBron last night. We saw it. You know, he gave LeBron a lot of trouble, you know.
In the first half, agreed.
Yeah, even when LeBron, you know, posting him up, he was shying away, taking fadeaways. Like, I think
to this point, Wiggins is better than Mikal, though, as a defender.
Yeah, but I don't think it's far off. You know, I think Mikal Bridges can, you know, make it difficult just because of LeBron's ankle injury.
And let's be honest, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You mentioned Jay Crowder being a really good defender. Mikal Bridges, that's barbecue chicken for LeBron.
Oh,
it really is. No disrespect. It's LeBron has made a lot better defenders look bad. You know what I mean? Like, he played against Kawhi. He's played against.
What did he do against Kawhi?
I mean, he beat him in 2014.
Do you actually know the numbers when Kawhi was guarding him though?
All right, let's hear it. Enlighten me. He still averaged 28 that series.
Come on, bro.
He still averaged 28.
Shooting like 35% on Kawhi.
Okay.
It's bad.
35%.
It's terrible.
LeBron would cook Kawhi. Let's not even get
come
into
on,
that.
dude.
Kawhi and San Antonio. You guys gotta stop.
Let's not get into that.
LeBron gets
would
frustrated
cook
when
Kawhi.
Kawhi comes
Either way. Andre Iguodala is another name. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, you can talk about him.
Yeah, like the fact that they made him Finals MVP when LeBron averaged 38. It's just they're looking for something there. Regardless, those are better defenders that I've seen play on LeBron than Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder. So I'm not, and that's what I mean by that. I'm not worried about those guys.
What do you think they're gonna put on AD?
Ayton. You have to put Ayton on him.
Then who's on Drummond?
Exactly. That's the mismatch.
I don't think Ayton.
I think Crowder is probably gonna go on AD.
Yeah, I think
And then
it's
that's
gonna
barbecue
be,
chicken too.
It's gonna be
if
maybe
AD's
Torrey
aggressive.
Craig.
See, that's the thing too. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, bro, but last night watching AD try to take so many jumpers, it was blowing mine beyond belief. Because all he really has to do is back these guys down, spin, score the basketball. If he does that every single time, he'd be like a 75 field goal percent shooter. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but he wants to be a power forward too bad sometimes. And I get what you're saying. But you go to the extreme saying that Anthony Davis is bad. That's strong. That's rude.
I think Torrey Craig and Jay Crowder will be the matchup, and Mikal will be on LeBron.
So
that's
then,
what I'm predicting.
Yeah.
And if that's the matchup, then I'm confident.
Yeah, if he's aggressive.
So we all have the Lakers winning.
Anthony
You're
Disney.
saying in 7. You're a little bit too high on the Suns for me. Lakers will beat them in 5. Rewind this video back when it happens.
All right, let's.
we all agree the Lakers are gonna win.
Lakers will win the whole
Then
thing.
in the Eastern Conference, the
Oh, boy.
Philadelphia 76ers versus the Washington Wizards or the Indiana Pacers. I mean, for me, regardless of who's going to play the Sixers, this is the Sixers in 4.
Yep.
It's going to be a sweep, no doubt about it. If they face the Wizards, Russell Westbrook is going to be horrible in the first round like he is all the time. Bradley Beal is dealing with an injury, and after that, they don't have anybody who's going to step up.
Yep.
And the Pacers, without LeVert, he's probably going to miss some of the series at least. No Miles Turner. And even if they do have Miles Turner, Embiid absolutely destroys him.
Yeah.
So really, none of these teams will put up a fight against Philly. Philly will beat them in 4, no doubt about it, in my opinion.
Shout out to Miles Turner. I think he should be on the all defensive team. I think he should definitely get the nod for that. He's been great. This Pacers team has been unhealthy all year, but they fought through the adversity. They got here. Shout out to them if they win. Shout out to Washington because they were pretty garbage early in the year. They fought the adversity. They got in. Shout out to Bradley Beal. You know, he had an impressive season for
Shout out
himself.
to Russell Westbrook.
I was
yeah.
getting there.
Yeah, you didn't.
No,
Russell,
no.
I'd say Russell before
So
badly.
I'm going, save the best for last.
All right.
Shout out to Westbrook, doing his thing, breaking the triple-double record. With all that being said, I got Philly in 5. I'm going to give either team a blessing, give them a gentleman's sweep. I think Philly, slip up one game and lose. But 5 or 4, it really doesn't matter. I think they walk away with this series pretty easily, pretty handily. I think either team is a mismatch on both ends. I think Philly can dominate both teams regardless of who comes out of this. I think Washington, as far as they got and as much adversity as they fought, I don't think they're strong enough to see Philly in a series. I think Embiid has just been too dominant. Ben Simmons is going to be there. He can guard Westbrook pretty easily. I think they have the shooters. Tobias Harris has been good, so I think they'll be good for that. Indiana, they're just so banged up. I think Sabonis, we praise Sabonis a lot, but I think his stats are kind of a little bit misleading in the sense they don't necessarily translate to wins. Miles Turner is going to be there, but like you said, Embiid cooks him every time. Brogdon is there, but I think Ben Simmons that's another person Ben Simmons can pretty much handle easily. So I think this team I think Philly, this is the easiest matchup in the playoffs for me. For in East or West, I think Philly gets out of this pretty easily.
I feel like the general consensus right now is that people feel like the Sixers are pretenders for some reason. Even though they have all this depth on the squad, people don't mention Tobias Harris. Like, you didn't even mention Tobias Harris in that whole list.
I did.
Oh, maybe you did. Maybe it just slipped
You
my
didn't
mind.
mention Seth Curry or Danny
That's what I
Green.
didn't. Yeah.
And this squad has just been so consistent all year round. I feel like this is a statement series that they have to win in for them to put the league on notice. Like, listen, these guys are nothing to us. We're looking for the big picture. We're looking for the Knicks. We're looking for Milwaukee. We're looking for the Nets. They need a win in 4. They need to put this in their backseat and not even look back at all. This needs to be a complete dominant showing on all aspects of the ball. They need to show why Ben Simmons should be Defensive Player of the Year. They need to show why Joel Embiid is going to be should be the MVP of the league. And I feel like these two teams are going to be nothing but a cakewalk for the Sixers. So I look for them to win in 4, and I feel like they need this for people to start putting respect on them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And personally, I think, like I mentioned, this is going to be a sweep because neither the Wizards or the Pacers have enough firepower. Even if the Pacers were healthy, I wouldn't say that they would win a game. Maybe one gentleman's sweep. But I think Philly, this team is different from last year's.
No doubt.
Coaching is different. The players, they have finally gotten players that fit around Ben Simmons and Embiid. And because of that, this team is different. Even their bench with Korkmaz and Shake Milton, who can give you points off the bench. Thibault,
I love his defense.
He's one of the better perimeter defenders
solid.
in the NBA. I mean, the Philly will win this series
He's
easily.
like what Robert Covington should have been. His off-ball defense is amazing. On-ball is incredible.
He's mad young. His offense is going to develop also.
And now on to the next series, since we're done with that one. The New York Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks. The Knicks are the 4th seed. The Atlanta Hawks are the 5th seed. The Knicks are 3-0 against the Atlanta Hawks this season. And the Knicks will beat the Atlanta Hawks in 6 games. It won't go to 7. Julius Randle, that man behind me, the GOAT, will not allow it to go to 7. Against the Atlanta Hawks this season, Julius Randle has averaged 37 points per game, 12 rebounds, and 6.7 assists per game, totally dominating and annihilating John Collins. And for me, I think obviously the Hawks have Trae Young, and Trae Young is that guy that is really the X factor for the Hawks, even though he's the best player, because the Knicks have struggled with guards, right? They don't have a dominant point guard. You got Elfrid Payton, Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley, but Rose is off the bench. I think Tibbs should sit Elfrid Payton out for this series. That's just my opinion. I think Frank Ntilikina should get more minutes because his defense will be really good on Trae Young. You know, Trae Young will still score and get his buckets, but it will be better. DeAndre Hunter is coming back, so that's a good sign. I'm not trying to, bash the Hawks because they are 26-12 since Nate McMillan took over. But I think that they're a great offensive team that doesn't play any defense. The Knicks are a bad offensive team that play great defense.
Yep.
But I think in the playoffs, when the game slows down and it favors teams that have great defenses, I think The Knicks half-court offense will be fine because Randall has shown that he can really light it up. Emmanuel Quickley is a spark. Derrick Rose is going to get his points off the bench. One of the better six men in the NBA. Alec Burks makes a huge difference. He can flat out score the ball. Reggie Bullock has been a great spot-up shooter. And then you look at RJ the Man Barrett, future superstar. He's going to, this series is going to be the series that RJ Barrett puts people on notice. He's going to have a similar effect to what Tyler Hero had last year with the Heat, where you're like, wow, who is this guy? This guy is really balling. That's what people are going to start saying with RJ Barrett, putting some respect on his name, because RJ has been getting so disrespected, getting left off of lists, not making the all-rookie team, not making the top players under 25 list. He has been getting massively disrespected, and this will be the series that he puts everybody on notice, and I can't wait. Knicks in 6.
I love it. I think this is going to be the best series of the first round.
Definitely.
I think everybody's been waiting for it. I think the Hawks wanted the Knicks. The Knicks wanted the Hawks. I think these two fan bases, before I got suspended on Twitter, I was watching these two fan bases was beefing, going at it like they have real life beef, and it's funny. But, I think the two young teams, shout out to Nate McMillan, shout out to Tom Thibodeau, getting these two teams where they needed to be. Two young teams that needed some playoff experience, they're going to get that. Julius Randle getting his team to the playoffs, Trae Young getting his team to the playoffs. I think those two guys are the consensus best players on the court. And then, like he said, offense to defense, I think the Knicks have the better D. I think the Hawks have the better offensive players. Danilo Gallinari, DeAndre Hunter is back. They have John Collins. They have Bogdanovich who can shoot that three ball. So they got some guys out there that can put up some points. The Knicks, they kind of struggle with that. They have guys that play their role, but defensively, they lock in. So it's like, if I look at the tail of the tape, the Knicks, they have the coach. Tom Thibodeau, he's been the ECFs. He's won a championship as an assistant coach. He's been to the playoffs, 8th seed, 1st seed, 4th seed. He's won upsets. So, he's won, going back to those days with the Bulls when Joakim Noah was our best player, he's won series off just straight defense, when we beat the Nets in 7 on the road. He's been through that, so he knows how to get it done. So I'm personally going to go with the Hawks in 7. I think this is going to be a dogfight. I think this is going to go back and forth. I don't think they have an answer for Julius Randle, but I think the Hawks have too much firepower in Trae Young, John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, Bogdanovich, Danilo Gallinari. I think Clint Capella has been huge for them. He's going to be huge for them in this series. I think Julius Randle is going to ball out, but I don't know if RJ Barrett is going to show up. Emmanuel Quickley, they're going to need those young guys to really step up. I know D Rose is going to pull up, but I don't know how those young guys are going to perform. Same can be said for both teams, but I'm more comfortable in the guys in Atlanta because they are more offensively talented than the Knicks guys. So I think I'm going to go Hawks in 7.
So you think the Hawks will win a Game 7 in MSG?
Yes.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
That's interesting.
I think the Hawks go in there and win in Game 7.
Because I have opposite thinking. I feel like this is going to go 7 for sure.
I think it's going to go 7 regardless.
But I think it's going to go 2-2. They're going to slip. They're going to go 1-1-1.
Do you think they're both going undefeated at home?
I think so. I feel like that's how it's going to end up shaping out. But this series is going to be unbelievable, especially how you mentioned about how Atlanta is so strong offensively. They have 4 guys averaging over 15 points. If you want to count DeAndre Hunter, that's 5 guys averaging over 15, even though he's missed a good amount of time this season. I feel as if the Knicks get the edge because, like you said, their defense has been so stellar throughout the entirety of this season. You get that home court advantage, which is huge. The difference of 0.5 between seedings between these two teams. You're gonna need Randle to be the Randle that he's been all season long. RJ Barrett's gonna have to be where he's been unbelievable compared to last season to this season, averaging 17.6 points per game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, which is very firm out of your number 2. You need him to take it another notch up. You need him to average around 20 points, especially with a team that's this lethal at shooting. When you have Trae Young, you have John Collins, Bogdanovich, who has been lights out all season long. You have the interior presence with Clint Capella. So Julius Randle is going to have his hands full, even though I feel Julius is going to be fine. But this is where Julius can show us what he's made of. Is he New York's future? And listen, I believe in him firmly. He would be my number 2 candidate for MVP right now, given the fact that he's made the Knicks relevant once again. But I look for Julius to really break out. But like I said, RJ needs to get a bump up in points if they want to handle Atlanta.
It's not even just RJ. I think like RJ, Randall, Trae Young, John Collins. I think this is it. This is the series that really defines what their franchise. Because this is the first time Trae Young. I think Randall being the oldest, but he's still relatively young. He's like 25.
26.
Yeah, he's relatively like this. He's reaching that. All right, is this our guy? Trae Young, first time being in the playoffs. RJ Barrett, this first time being to play John Collins. So this is like really the series where, and it's great that we get to see them against each other. This is really the series where we get to see like, what do we have in our young guys? Are these the young guys we're gonna rock on with, or are these the young guys where we're like, I don't know if we want to pay them? It's still, and I think this is big for Julius Randle because he's under contract next year one more time, right? And then he's a free agent. So this can boost him. The Knicks, they've shown to be patient with their new owner. So this is something where they could look at, well, he had a great regular season. He, wet the bed in the playoffs. Do we continue to pay this guy, or he balls out and we're like, all right, this guy is legit. This guy is definitely our future. So I think this is big for both teams.
You mentioned it. Tom Thibodeau is a winning coach. He has a winning mentality. Nate McMillan, shout out to him, did a phenomenal job. But he's been a first-round exit for the majority of his coaching years.
He's had the unfortunate luck of having to go against LeBron a good portion of those times.
I guess so, but
even
in Indiana,
he should have. 2018, he should have won.
Should have beat y'all.
In Indiana and even in Portland, it was basically a first-round exit for him. Tom Thibodeau, I trust him getting out the first round with this team. This Knicks team just feels different. And Nate McMillan actually just got fined $25,000.
I just seen that, but I didn't know what it was.
He said something about the Knicks. He said the league wants this. They need this. New York has been out of the playoffs for a number of years. This is the team that our league they want to see. It's a huge fan base. And the NBA fined him for detrimental public comments asserting bias.
He wasn't wrong.
He did not cap at all.
He didn't cap. Everybody wants to see the Knicks in the playoffs.
I get why they fined him. I do get why they fined him.
It's the biggest city in the world.
They just fined him $25,000. But like I said,
I'd have been tight.
I can very well see this series going to 7. Obviously, I think that's probably what everybody assumes it's going to be. I don't want it to go to 7 because I want to have that little bit of comfort and close them out in 6. But it would be nice to beat them in 7 with our home crowd at MSG. Guys buying
lit game 7.
Fans buying tickets for $1,000 sitting at the 400 level.
That's ridiculous.
So
that's
I want to see it. I want to see it, and I think the Knicks will pull this one off. Like you mentioned, we were waiting on this matchup. We did not want to face the Heat or the Bucks in the first round.
Yeah, no way.
This was the perfect matchup for us. Now we got to capitalize and move on to the second round. Next series, I think you mentioned the Hawks and Heat being the best, the Hawks and Knicks being the best series, but I think it's this one. The Milwaukee Bucks versus the Miami Heat. They will be facing in the first round in the playoffs. The Bucks are 2-1 against the Miami Heat this season, and I actually love what the Bucks did. Instead of tanking and against the Heat late in the season and letting the Heat beat them in that game, they said, no, to hell with that. We're going to dominate the Heat. We're going to make them fall down in the standings so we can face them in the first round. The opposite of what the Clippers did, who are running scared of LeBron James and the Denver Nuggets. Giannis and the Bucks said, nah, we want Miami. We want to beat them early because that's like the bug on their shoulder right now, that Miami beat them. They upset them. They're telling themselves this is a different team. I know that the Bucks have not had the regular season success this year that they have had in previous years, but this is their best team to date. I mean, Drew Holiday adding Bryn Forbes, P.J. Tucker, who not only is a Kevin Durant stopper, but he's going to be the Jimmy Butler stopper for sure. Mm-hmm. Bobby Portis and Jeff Teague, who plays some minutes, who can do some damage off the bench for like maybe 8.
He's a decent
minutes.
Scorer, though.
Yeah,
he's a
okay.
decent scorer.
The Bucks have more spacing than ever before, and not only that, but Giannis is much more comfortable in his jump shot than ever before, and is going to take those shots. Are there games where he's going to go 2 for 8? Yes. Are there games where he's going to go 4 for 8? Yes. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on what Giannis they get. The Heat have also been playing well. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're finally healthy. Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Butler, Ariza has been a huge pickup. Adebayo, who may be the defensive player of the year. Dragic, Hero off the bench, Iguodala. I mean, they got a lot of stuff going on, but I think the Bucks know this. I think the Bucks want their payback on the Heat. Mike Budenholzer's job is on the line this series because if they lose, he will be fired.
Yep.
And I think the Bucks are everybody on the team, they love Budenholzer. They know that, man, this series is for him. You know, he's our coach, he's our guy. This is for him. But not only is it for him, this is for us because we need to prove that we can beat the Heat, who made the finals last year. I think that would be a huge boost to them. And I have the Bucks in 7. This will be a 7-game series, and the Bucks will win it.
You know, Drew Holiday said it best. We have more talent than these guys, and I think they do. You know, I think Drew Holiday is above and beyond Eric Bledsoe. I think we can all agree that was a major upgrade. Giannis has looked – I know the stats look similar from last year, but if you watch him play, he's looked better. He's looked more confident. He's confident in that jump shot, regardless if it goes in or it doesn't. He's taking the jump shot, the mid-range. He's developed that, so that's incredible. Like you said, P.J. Tucker coming in, bringing in that defense is amazing for them. Now they can run 5 guys who play great to elite defense every night, which is incredible. You know, I'm not going to acknowledge that. Brandon Forbes, who is trigger happy but also can hit at a ridiculous clip when he gets hot. Bobby Portis has been good when he gets in. He's been a little banged up, but he's been good.
Chicago Jeff Teague, Bulls legend.
Yeah. Jeff Teague, I'm a little sometimes he's good when he doesn't do dumb things. You know, he's okay. Pat Connaughton's been good. DiVincenzo, he's really solid. So this team is deep. Brook Lopez has been great for them down low as a rim protector.
Played every single game this year.
Yeah, so this team is deep. Miami, you know, they have their guys. I think they're the same team as last year. They're, you know, missing Jay Crowder and Derrick Jones Jr., but I think they've had the same identity.
And Depot's out too.
Yeah, they've been the same type of guys. I think Jimmy Butler, he's going to give it his all. Bam is going to be there. But I think when you watched, you know, in the bubble last year, this Bucks team played amazing defense. I think they just couldn't score. You know, their guys couldn't hit shots. They just offensively, they wasn't that thing. Defensively, they were the same team. And I think this year is going to be a little different. You know, Drew Holiday, he's hitting at a 39% clip. Mm-hmm. He can dribble the ball. He can play off ball. He can lock up on the defensive end consistently. You know, it's not one off, one on. He does it every night. He can score. Giannis is going to be there. I don't think they're going to be able to build that wall that they once built. Even if they do, they have the shooters out there where they can run. So I think this is going to be a 5-game series. But I think every game is going to be intense, strong, close. But I think the Bucks are just going to come out with it in the end because I think, like you said, they got that chip on that shoulder. And Giannis has been better. You know, Drew Holiday has been better. Mm-hmm. This team is better. I think Middleton has to step it up. But we know, regardless, his defense is going to be there. The offense has to kick in, but I think 5 games is going to be the series.
Okay. Yeah, I think that Milwaukee has something to prove. I mean, you want to think about Giannis's legacy. He wins the MVP 2 seasons in a row, wins Defensive Player of the Year, first player since Michael Jordan to do that, win MVP. And
say that again?
First player since Michael Jordan.
Oh, okay.
This guy, man.
Just had to throw that in there.
Unbelievable. Either way, this man Giannis is a freak in nature. The Greek freak fitting. I feel as if, though, his playoff woes have been a huge reason as to why he's not in those conversations with KD, LeBron, Kawhi, even though this season, these past few seasons, he's put up astronomical numbers and his defense is only a plus to that. This man is unbelievable at basketball. And this is the closest, I feel like the last time we had a player of this caliber under this much scrutiny, I guess you could say James Harden. But, I mean, young into their career, LeBron James. LeBron had the exact same critiques when he was younger that he couldn't get it done in the playoffs. Is he really built like that? How can you consider him to be the greatest of all time when he can't get it done in the playoffs? Obviously, we know what happened with LeBron. But Giannis has a squad around him now. You get him Drew Holiday, as you guys mentioned, Dante DiVincenzo, who's been pretty solid all year long. You get him another defensive anchor in P.J. Tucker, which is only going to help him and take some stress off his game. He can relax now more so than he has in the last few years, especially going against teams where you look at the Raptors. He just didn't match up well. You knew what to do against Milwaukee that year. Trap Giannis. Don't let him get into the paint. Don't let him back us down and bully us. Same thing last year. Bam did an unbelievable job on Giannis. Don't let him get into the paint. Don't let him enforce his will. Giannis was hurt too. He ended up missing games 3 and games 4. Chris Middleton's going to have to be huge for them. Middleton has been pretty solid all year long, averaged 21 points this season. But when you're going against a team like Miami, who has been consistent these last 2 years, that definitely, I wouldn't say they're the same team as last year. I felt like they were better last year. I feel like Depot would have given them a huge push, where I might lean Miami this series. But right now, as constructed, Milwaukee is too deep. Milwaukee has too much motivation to win this series and too much on the line legacy-wise for them to lose. I feel like Milwaukee in 6, that's what's going to happen.
And I think Giannis being called the guy who doesn't perform in the playoffs has been one of the more bad narratives that is coming out, because
Definitely.
he is a good playoff performer. He's a victim of his circumstances and supporting cast, because Eric Bledsoe, my God.
Stinks.
He's terrible.
He was
They just gave him $100 million.
awful.
He's terrible.
I think that was a fake contract.
Was
That
it?
was a fake tweet.
Thank God.
He's terrible in New Orleans.
Yeah,
It's really bad.
Eric Bledsoe was horrible. Chris Middleton has literally turned into Tony Snell in the playoffs. I mean, who?
Chill, Tony Snell, 50-50, 100.
I mean,
First
yeah,
player ever.
He did make history, not knocking him on that. Maybe I should use another name. But Chris Middleton has really not been who we thought he was in the regular season. But look at this. In the regular season, Giannis' stats, 2019-2020, so last year, 29.5 points per game, 13.6 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, shooting 55% from the field and 30% from the three, and has a 31.9 PER. In the playoffs last year, he averaged 26.7 points per game, 13.8 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 0.7 steals, 0.9 blocks, 56% from the field goal, and 32% from the three-point range, and 31.3 PER. So I mean, it's very similar to his regular season numbers, and it's been like that for the last couple of years. So the narrative that he's this playoff choker is just not true. He plays well, and I think he's improved on his game, and the team around him now allows him to play more freer, because we have to take into account that these numbers in the playoffs are similar, and he's being double-teamed heavily in the playoffs, way more heavily than he is in the regular season. So Giannis, I expect him to have a really big series, and I'm going to change my pick. The Bucks will win in 6, not 7. They'll win in 6, and Giannis is going to be dominant.
Yeah,
He has to.
I think like you hit it on the head. The narrative around Giannis is he hasn't been able to win it, get it done. He's 26 years old. He's 2-time MVP, defensive player. He's been an All-NBA first team. He's got everything that he needs to get except that illustrious trophy. I think if they, like you said, if they lose this first round, I think Giannis is shipped out. He's getting shipped out immediately. I think he's going to request a trade. I think Mike Budenholzer gets fired, and it's no reason to run it back when you just lost in the first round to Miami. This team, I think, is the second best team in the East. I think it's a top 5 team in the NBA. I think this team is the most equipped to beat the Nets. But if you can't even beat the Heat, you got to look at things differently. And I my bias, I hope they do lose, and I hope he does get traded, because if he gets traded, he's going right to play with Steph Curry. So I hope that's the thought process. But I do got Bucks in 5. I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to be geared up to play them boys next round.
Yep.
Nets versus Celtics is the next series. The Nets are the 2nd seed. The Celtics are the 7th. And I'll just say it, the Nets will win in 4. The Celtics don't have Jaylen Brown, so you already, take out a wing defender. Marcus Smart is playing a little bit hobbled. Kemba Walker is inconsistent and can't match up with Kyrie.
He's not cardiac.
Evan Fournier is basically Joe Harris.
I don't know about that.
Fournier is basically Joe Harris. Durant is going to put Tatum in prison, I think. He's really going to – I think he's going to lock up Jason Tatum in this series. I've seen it before. And I think this series benefits Brooklyn because they don't have to face a true center.
Yep.
I mean, the Boston Celtics have who? Robert Williams
and Tristan Thompson.
Tristan Thompson. And even then, they're like 6'8", 6'9", so Blake Griffin can do his job. He's been a fantastic defender for Brooklyn this season. So you can have Blake starting at the 5, maybe Jeff Green or Claxton. Really don't have to go too crazy this series, but, I mean, I see them winning in 4. They're just a superior team. Boston has no chemistry. And I think we have to start being honest. Brad Stevens is a coach who has maximized mediocre talent, but when he has talent, has yet to do anything with it outside of make a Eastern Conference Finals.
He made it 2 years in a row.
That's
not in a
true.
row. It was just 2.
No, it was 2 years in a row. 2018.
And then remember they lost to the Bucks next year in the second round.
You're right. They made it to the Eastern Conference last year. So
Yeah.
2 out of the last 3.
I think the first year that they made the ECF with Tatum without Kyrie,
Overachieving.
I think it was a little bit
Cinderella
It was a
run.
little bit lucky, a little bit
They
Cinderella run.
almost went to the finals.
Yeah, I agree.
Without Kyrie Irving.
I think I don't think Brad Stevens should get fired. Now, I've been seeing a lot of that in the news. I don't think he should get
that's
fired.
hot.
I think I don't necessarily agree with Joel. I don't necessarily disagree though. I think he's maximized his players. It's like this year with Boston, it's really been an effort thing and an inconsistency thing. I think it does. I don't think it has nothing to do with Brad Stevens and the way they've been playing. At the same time, though, I do think you could look back when Kyrie and Gordon Hayward were there and they blew it to the Bucks in the second round. This is the same team that just went to the ECF without you 2 guys, and then you come in and kind of kill the culture and revoking us losing to the Bucks. Then the year after, in the bubble, they go to the ECF again. They fight hard against Miami, and they inevitably lose. I think this team has a real Kemba Walker problem. I think they realize who their 2 guys is, Brown and Tatum, and they have to build around them. I think Marcus Smart and Kemba Walker have reached their pinnacle here in Boston. I think these are the 2 guys that need to really start looking at it and seeing if they're really the future. With that being said, I think Nets in 4. I think the Nets can just run a one-on-one lineup all game. They don't really need to double team anybody and just play their game. Offensively, they're going to dominate the Celtics. I really want to see if I'm Boston, I just want to see how Tatum looks like against a guy at his level, a guy at his, at his caliber.
Like the Nets, yeah.
Not even the team, just that one-on-one matchup with Kevin Durant. I want to put Tatum out there just to see how he looks because this is going to be the guy he's going to see a lot. So if I'm Boston, I'm viewing that and seeing how Tatum's going to play. But other than that, if I'm Boston, the season's over. Season was over once we beat the Washington Wizards. Season's wraps. I got Nets in 4. I don't see much out of this team. Danny Ainge should definitely start looking in the offseason for some trades. And maybe I made up this it's not gonna happen, but I was like trade Kemba and a bunch of picks and get the number 1 pick and then run a Cade, Brown, Tatum lineup.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, if you do that, then boom, boom, you back in it. But I got Nets in 4. I don't see this is a series that's gonna be like Philly, just gonna be a waste.
Now, is Harden 100% healthy?
Does it really matter?
That's what I'm wondering. Because if Harden's unhealthy, I think it's still probably Nets in 5, probably the most.
I think he's probably
playing, right?
95% healthy. I'm not sure about 100. I don't really know his
Do you think
body,
he'll
but
play every game?
I think he will play every game.
So if he plays every game, I think it's a sweep also. But one thing I will say to the Celtics defense is that they have not had a consistent lineup at all year long. You look at early in the season, Jason Tatum had COVID. Then you go and you bring in Fournier, so it kind of changes like the rotations on the court. Then Tatum comes back. He's not 100% himself. He's still dealing with some COVID-related issues. He uses an inhaler for the first time in his life. He's never used an inhaler before. Then you go and where things seem to be clicking a little bit. Then Jaylen Brown goes and he breaks his wrist. It's like nothing could go right for them. Robert Williams, who's been solid all year long, goes and now he's dealing with some injury issues. Kemba Walker, like you've said, has had a lot of problems in his short Celtics career. But last game against the Wizards, he was huge. You had Tatum drop 50. Obviously, it's hard to lose a game when your best player drops 50. He had 29 points. Kemba had an amazing game, and it's not a surprise that when Kemba and Tatum are both on, the Celtics are winning. So Kemba's going to have to be a huge part of this series for the Celtics to even have a chance. I mean, even still, it's the Nets. You got James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, who could win a series like this in their sleep, especially all 3 of them together healthy. So I'm gonna go Nets in 4. If Harden's playing, if Harden happens to miss a game or 2, or maybe they think that this is too easy, maybe it goes 5. But I can't see it going further than that.
I mean, I believe that the Celtics are having bad luck right now because I still believe wholeheartedly that they are paying for doing Isaiah Thomas dirty.
Yep.
One of my favorite players. Karma is a bitch.
I'm with you.
And I think that when they did Isaiah Thomas dirty, now it's coming back to bite them. It's crazy how the Nets, who basically traded their entire future for Paul Pierce and KG, are now in a better position than Boston and about to sweep them in the first round when Boston had such a head start on them to get this ship in the right direction. But it's really been Danny Ainge not being aggressive enough, not going after AD, even though he said that he didn't want to go to Boston. not going after Kawhi, not going after Harden as much as they could have. I would have traded Jaylen Brown for James Harden. I wouldn't have tried. I would have traded Jaylen Brown.
There's not many players that you wouldn't trade for James Harden. Like you trade Ben Simmons for James Harden. It would hurt to trade Jaylen Brown. I'm probably in the minority of people who think this. I think Jaylen Brown's a better overall basketball player than Jason Tatum. Is Jason Tatum obviously a better scorer than Jaylen Brown? Of course. But Jaylen Brown can score the basketball, and he plays defense a 10 out of 10. So that's why it would hurt to trade Jaylen Brown for James Harden, but it's James Harden, top 3 player in the world. How do you got to do that trade?
I mean, I know where you're coming from. I would still take Tatum.
Understandable.
I think, scoring is more important.
But he still scores. This dude,
yeah,
Jaylen
but not
Brown,
like I think that.
See, I get it.
I think that Brown scores. He's improved. But if he was the number one focal point, I don't think he can do what Tatum does.
I see where you're going with it, and I'm under the knowledge that I don't think Tatum is that much better than Brown. I think Tatum is better. That's why I see where you're going, but I don't think like people make it seem like it's a big gigantic gap.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
I don't think
it's not a gap.
I don't think it's a big gap. I think Tatum is the better offensive player. Jaylen Brown's the better defensive player. It's just Jason Tatum's offense is a little bit more advanced than Brown's, and he can also play defense.
For sure.
So that would put him over the top.
Tatum can get a bucket in so many different ways. The one thing I will say against Tatum, though, he could be the best player on the court. He could be the worst player on the court. Jaylen Brown has been a consistent ball player throughout the entirety. He's only gotten better as his career's gone on, and then he's now in the point where he is just consistent night in, night out. Tatum, he has nights where he can drop 50 like he did the other night. Then there's nights where he can go 3 of 16. And it happens in the playoffs too. So, I mean, that's the only reason why I kind of have that debate between the two of them. But listen, I get it. Tatum's unbelievable on offense.
So on to the next topic, Kwame Brown. He's a trending topic. He's been trending on Twitter for the last couple of days. And it's because he's been going on rants back and forth, talking about Matt Barnes and Derek Fisher taking his wife. He's been he nicknamed Matt Barnes Becky with the good hair. He's been talking about Steven Jackson and how he's a fake gangster and this fake political activist and stuff like that, really going at him. He talked about how Gilbert Arenas is a slime ball and he's grimy and he's a child in a man's body still. And then he talked about Stephen A. Smith and talked about how Stephen A. Smith, all he does is disrespect other people for his fame, that he's a punk. And he also said that Stephen A. criticized Kwame Brown for his basketball skills, but Stephen A. couldn't make it to the level that Kwame made it to. And then he also came at Charlamagne the God and called Charlamagne a rapist. And, really going at him. I mean, he's been coming at everybody, even went at Jamel Hill. So he's been on a rampage, on a tear. And for me, I mean, it's been funny as hell to watch. And the reason this all started is because on the All the Smoke podcast, Jeannie Buss was a guest on the show. And she was talking about the trade for Pau Gasol. And in the trade, Marc Gasol was one of the players involved, but so was Kwame Brown. And she said that we traded 2 players, Marc Gasol and Kwame Brown, and Steven Jackson made a joke and said, oh, it was only one player. Only one player was really involved in that trade. And then Matt Barnes tapped Steven Jackson on the knee and started laughing with him when he said that. And that's why Kwame Brown said, you was a little girl for tapping him on the knee, you little bitch. So Kwame Brown's been going off, and honestly, I can't blame him. People have been joking about him for years. And now he's finally, having his platform and coming out and defending himself. I invited Kwame Brown on the podcast. I doubt that he accepts it. But if you're listening to this, we would love to have you on the show because you would be a fantastic guest. We could talk about, how you feel about the media and all that stuff. But I think this is just a funny situation. I watch Kwame's live streams and I just can't stop laughing.
No, yeah, I agree. I think this is hilarious for us. This is hilarious for the sport. This is funny. I think, and Kwame Brown, I think he's right to defend his honor, defend the fact that they were disrespecting him on All the Smoke without they're talking about him. He wasn't there, and I like that Matt Barnes did invite him on All the Smoke. He said, "Come on the smoke, speak your piece." And I think Kwame Brown should go up there.
He said he won't.
I know he
I don't
won't,
blame him.
because
don't
I
blame
feel
him.
like it turned into a fight. But I feel like I wish he would have. I wish they could have took it a different round. That he would have been all the smoke. He could have spoke what he had to say. It would have been a lot funnier. But I think the way Kwame Brown is taking it, I think it's hilarious. I think people have been, Kwame Brown has kind of been quiet over these years, and he just resurfaced, and he's making these funny videos, and he's disrespecting Matt Barnes. Like, he's coming for everybody. Stephen A. Smith got all the
He's
smoke.
bugging on him.
Charlamagne, Matt Barnes.
He made a line about Matt Barnes that was funny as hell. He said that Matt Barnes, you were light skinned, you supposed to be Drake taking people's girls. And he was like, instead, you getting your girl took. So, I mean, he's funny as hell. But just to give some context, he came at Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson for what their comments on All the Smoke. He came for Stephen A. Smith for obvious reasons, for what Stephen A. Smith has said in the past.
He's been saying that for a minute.
He came for Charlamagne the God because Charlamagne the God talked on the Breakfast Club, talked about Kwame Brown's father and brother who were criminals, and said that, hey, look, he basically insinuated that, hey, look, Kwame Brown's family is criminals, so this guy probably is violent and he's looking for some trouble, and basically implied that Kwame Brown is not right in the head and is, some crazy guy that's just looking to be violent and stuff, and people shouldn't mess with him, which I don't know if that's fair to Kwame Brown to kind of label him that, but, it is what it is.
I mean, I'm on Kwame's side here. I mean, you have all these years and years and years of people disrespecting Kwame. Listen, I've made my fair share of Kwame Brown jokes. Like, you think of Greg Oden, you think of Kwame Brown, you just think of Bus. He even jokes about it. His YouTube handle is right, something like that. Is Kwame Brown Bus
Life.
Bus Life. There you go. So I mean, people have been on so many different platforms bashing Kwame Brown. He has his own platform where now he's saying whatever he wants about these other guys. He's more in his right mind to do that. People have said a lot worse than what Kwame's saying now. Kwame is unfortunately telling a lot of graphic details that maybe these guys don't want released, but they shouldn't have started with Kwame Brown if they didn't want him to start bugging out on them. So listen, I understand where Kwame Brown's definitely coming from. It is hilarious. If there's more, I'm gonna continue to watch. But I mean, what? How can you really fault him? Like, if someone judges your character and they really don't know you, like, of course you're going to say something.
Yeah, and Stephen A. Smith, if people don't know, a lot of his famous quotes have been Kwame Brown. Yeah, that's one of his, legendary quotes of him on TV.
He has small hands. He can't play the game of basketball.
He's a bona fide scrub.
Yeah, like that was, so it's like Kwame Brown, he came out and he finally, after years and years of disrespect, he finally defended him. So shout out to him because he's also making it really, really funny. And I think it's entertaining for us. The
thing about it is that Kwame made some interesting points because I watch his live streams. They're very funny.
He's hilarious.
He also makes some really good points. I mean, he said that the media was going to try and paint the narrative that he was some crazy guy. Also, he's not wrong about the media. Stephen A. Smith, what does he do? I mean, just like a month ago, he said Andrew Wiggins should get traded for a box of cookies.
Yeah.
Or like
and
cookies.
Then Andrew started bugging.
Yeah, and Andrew Wiggins even before then was playing great. It wasn't like he was not playing good at all. So, he's been really disrespectful to athletes. He said Kyrie Irving should retire earlier in the season. He talked about how Russell Westbrook and what he does is meaningless, basically. And he even said that Russell Westbrook, when he started playing better, that he should thank Stephen A. for playing better.
He called Westbrook a loser.
I mean, he
had a field day when Westbrook lost to the Celtics too.
And Kwame Brown made this point. He said this is what I think is a good point about the media. That the media, all they do is start rumors and gossip. You look at every other day, they're talking about Kevin Durant's tweets or Kyrie Irving. Just the other day when Kyrie Irving was, supporting Palestine, Stephen A. was criticizing him on First Take for doing so, for not being focused on basketball when Kyrie is Muslim and his people in Israel are, getting mistreated. So obviously that's on the forefront of his mind. And for somebody to say that that's not important or you shouldn't be talking about that is kind of ignorant. I feel.
I feel like Stephen A. there was just trying to say, listen, people feel where you're coming from, but it's not like we're not thinking about it either. Of course, we're still thinking about it, but his approach was wrong, and I agree. But I understood what he meant there.
I feel like Stephen A. is just another guy who's been under the contract of the media. He gets paid a big contract, and he has to follow the media's footsteps. And I think at that moment, the script was, Kyrie Irving shouldn't be saying these things. I think and I think Kwame Brown said this, like he's a part of the white culture. Said something like that. Like Stephen A. Smith has turned his back on the black people.
That he uses his platform to disrespect other black athletes.
Yeah, and it's like, I like to an extent. Sometimes he does go a little over the board, but other times he really is just doing his job. At the end of the day, like sometimes the Andrew Wiggins for a box of cookies, he's trying to be funny. It's all right.
And the Kyrie Irving stuff
he has to relax with the Kyrie Irving stuff. But I think certain players, he's really just explaining them as a basketball player. I think basketball players are a little sometimes sensitive and take that as you're trying to jab at them, but no, it's that their job is to cover the NBA and cover you as a basketball player. You don't always have to take everything too sensitive.
I mean, I personally don't agree with Kwame Brown when he says that, his job is disrespecting black men and stuff like that, because I personally don't look at it that way. I look at it in a way that he's just talking about players that play basketball, and at the end of the day, it's a results-driven thing.
Yep.
I mean, Kwame Brown, he mentioned this. Kwame Brown said that, if he's a bust, then every single kid is a bust, because he made $63 million and put his mom on a golf course. And while I guess that is true, at the end of the day, you were not a good basketball player relative to the players in the NBA.
Correct.
Obviously, if you face us, you dominate us. But
he's leaving us on 0.
Yeah, but relative to the players in the NBA, you were not a good NBA player. And that word bust is used for players who had high expectations and never panned out in the NBA for whatever reason.
And it's not like he was a bust because of injuries. Greg Oden, I think Greg Oden was a really good player when he was able to play.
Yep.
Brandon Roy was a really good player when he was like. There's certain guys you could say were really good when they were able to play. You were a bust because you just weren't good when you came to the NBA. Like Stephen A. Smith, he may have been joking, but he wasn't joking about you. Like you
wasn't
were really
too inaccurate.
Yeah, you weren't that good when you came in the NBA. So to say, if that's the case, every guy who gets drafted, he isn't a bust. Every guy who gets drafted, he's successful because he made it to the next level. When we say a bust, we're comparing you to the guys of the NBA. You were a top 3 pick in the NBA draft, man. You came out of high school. Like you were projected to be this dominant force, and you became terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. So, I think this whole situation is funny. He said that he won't go on all the smoke.
That sucks.
The reason why, though, is because when he asked to be on the show before, they didn't say yes.
Oh, so now
but now that his fan base is growing, he's having more clout. People are really paying attention. Now they're like, oh, you could come on the show. And not only that, but he said that because Matt Barnes in his invitation was very condescending.
Yeah.
He was like, you could come on all the smoke. I know, you probably going through a lot right now. He tried to act like it was going to be a therapy session for Kwame, trying to act like this guy just needs, consulting and talking to.
Like he was his dad.
Yeah, and Kwame literally, he answered back like, yo, I don't need that. Now that I have clout, you guys want to have me on the show. Like, nah, I'm not going to go on the show.
I respect that. Actually having self-respect for yourself and not trying to chase a bag. I respect it 100%.
Yeah, it's funny as hell. I think the whole situation is funny.
Definitely.
But this other situation that's happened, it's not a situation, but J. Cole made his basketball debut. And after dropping the offseason his album, which I think was a pretty good album, he's playing in a professional African pro league for the Patriots Basketball Club of Rwanda. I don't know where that's at. And in his first game, he scored 3 points, had 2 assists, and 3 rebounds.
Did he play like 17 minutes?
I don't even know.
Yeah. He just looked like a guy who never played professional basketball in a long time. I think.
How old is he? He's
36.
30-something.
I think it was dope that he followed what he went. He's been playing ball for a long time. He's actually been really good. He's played in open runs with LeBron and Kevin Durant. Like, he's been in those open runs. I think this is cool and dope for him to go out there and try something new, especially after he dropped the album, which J. Cole fans are saying it's like fire. So that was dope of him to do that. But I think, what did we really expect? It's like when people expect Lil Durk to come in and go, because we see him go kill people in the open gym. We expect him to go into a league and dominate. Like, what did we expect the J. Cole to go in and seamlessly dominate a professional basketball league? I don't think that was never my expectation. 3 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds sounds reasonable. Sounds like a good stat line for a rapper who doesn't play professional basketball. I think 17 minutes is cool. He got his runs. He probably had mad fun. And I think he'll adapt as the game gets further. I think that's probably his next focus now is to focus on the game and getting better, which is funny how he just makes that transition. But I didn't expect nothing from it, but it's dope for him, to drop an album and then go play hoops. He reminds me of, what's that rapper?
Styles P?
No, the
Master
other one.
P?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's
He played in the NBA.
He was
though.
actually, he was a dog. He was actually an
Played
NBA
for Charlotte,
player.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
So it's dope, but I didn't expect nothing from young J. Cole.
I feel like he's not disrespecting the game by doing this. I don't know if that's what you guys meant by, what do you guys think about it? He's going to the African basketball league. It's like he's not trying to throw himself into the NBA where he thinks that he's some NBA talent. He's taking his talents elsewhere. He's trying to build up, his game. He's done a lot in his life, and he feels like, what, this is my next chapter that I feel I want to continue with in life. Who's going to knock him? I mean, he's pretty athletic. He can dunk a basketball. I mean, he can put up stats. I mean, it's not like he's going up there and dropping 0-0-0, being completely inefficient. I mean, I respect it. I really do. I mean, it's admirable to a degree where, you have a goal in mind and you're going to achieve it. So, listen, I respect it. I mean, he's already shown how he can be dominant in one aspect of life, and now he's showing how versatile he is with his craft. So, listen, all credit to J. Cole. I really wish him good luck. I hope that he ends up being a really good basketball player over there. But being 36, it's gonna be tough on him. I mean,
I didn't even know he was that old.
LeBron's 36. It's gonna be hard for him to adjust. I mean, who knows the level of skill there? I haven't watched any games. I only watched the J. Cole highlights, but I mean, it's gonna be an adjustment period for him. But we'll see what happens.
Why does everything have to be a LeBron thing?
Well, I'm saying he's 36. I feel you. That's the only reason I brought it up.
I mean, I think that J. Cole will probably not make the NBA, but
Yeah, no,
I think,
so.
playing professionally is still a great achievement, especially for a guy who has dedicated his life to rapping and not being a basketball player. But yeah, like you said, shout out to J. Cole. Much respect to him, for following what he wanted to follow and continuing to add
To the resume.
accolades
Definitely.
to his
What
resume.
if he wins
So
a chip and an MVP?
they started out 2-0 right now.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, there's 2-0.
It was lit. They were in the layup line. They had his album running.
Bro gonna win the chip. He gonna be a Grammy winner and the champ. That's tough.
That is pretty tough. I don't know if he'll win a Grammy though.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is the episode 86 of the Pickside Podcast. This is now the end of the episode. As always, if you guys want to rate us on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating and review our podcast. We are close to 30. We are at 28 right now. You can follow us on Instagram and on TikTok at Pickside Podcast, on Twitter at Pickside Pod. Andrew was the guest that joined us today. Love having him on, talking about the NBA first round matchup playoffs
Sunday
and our
it starts.
NBA awards. Yup. So we can't wait for that. So if you guys are watching, thank you. And we'll see you guys next time.